in the den of iniquity. Vicinity no pretty, calamity fi hit we any moment. What a pity. Tomorrow never certain. What dwells behind the curtain? The face of evil smirking with that shifty eyes averting. It's not a steady bubble, could either pop or topple. Many will fall and stumble. Let the dozers gather rubble. From LA to Colorado, Guinea to Burkina Faso. Cannons could breach the towers and the troops will storm the castle. I say, run, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. So run, run, come, make we get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. I say, run, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. Lord, run, run, come, make we get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. With the rubble steady rising, and hearts are compromising. Convictions here are stifling, making evil appetizing. The fists are steady forming, and countenance is falling. Defenses are withdrawing, possibilities are falling. In these your circumstances, evil will make advances. Pick up your sword and lances, and be sure to take your stances. Victory is never promised, the battle is upon us. Gather the brave and honest, and the righteous in your corners.
It's really going to be about that hustle. How are you going to be able to make it? You know, here in the Americas, we tend to have a way sometimes, you know, if you don't have money, there's ways of getting money here. But if you go to the continent, it's going to be all you. It's going to be all that you do. So I'm excited again to have Ike with us this week. And I'm going to let him come in and tell you a little bit about himself and hopefully give us that power. Okay. Welcome to the channel, Ike. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for being here with me today.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you great. And I'm gonna, you know, tell everybody again, share. Let's get this out. Get your pen and paper out. Ike, please introduce yourself to everyone.
My name is Ike Ogiamie. Okay, the hard G is the most important part. The rest just kind of flows with the consonants over. I mean, the vowels.
And you know, my name is Gina O'Deed. You know, sometimes I feel like it's a little Nigerian too. Ogiamie. It's not that difficult. Thank you.
I saw that and I was like, is she Nigerian?
Hey, you never know. 39%.
Excellent. Well, it's an honor and a pleasure to be here. I am Nigerian, as we just alluded to. Born and raised over there, came over here when I was 17 as a result of winning that visa lottery thing where they give you a green card, blah. Okay. And I came here alone. I was in New York for about a year, and then I moved to California. Continue to develop myself and so on and so forth. I do music and arts, writing, so on and so forth. I studied engineering, got a master's in engineering, structural engineering, that is, licensed in 3 states, and practicing mainly now in California in the Bay Area. And I have a YouTube channel as well. So that's who I am.
Yes. Now I want everybody to look at my link or description. I have his music where you could go listen to his music linked over there, his YouTube channel, and I believe you have a company that you run as well.
Yes, Prometheus Engineering. It's one of the companies that I run. Yes.
Yes. So I've been doing some checking into your history. It looks like, you know, you're good stuff. So I've been listening to a couple of YouTube videos. I have to be honest with you. Some of the things you talk about, I'm just learning, you know, like self-mastery. And I apologize. I have a very interesting dog that wants to be on air every time I am. But self-mastery and learning how to meditate. I'm always tuning in, even if I can't sometimes message because I'm at work, but it's quite interesting. But today we're here to talk about financial freedom. You did give us some insight. You came here when you were 17 on your own, and you've accomplished all of this?
Yeah. Well, you know, all of this.
Let's talk about how you did that.
Yeah, exactly. And there is an exponential aspect to it. And I think that's kind of what you alluded to, because people tend to look at things linearly, like, okay, 17, 18, 19. So there's a part where it just goes exponential, right? Okay. Where, gotcha, you put in 10 years of work, but then in year 8 to 10 is where the explosion happens. I'm sure we've all experienced this in different aspects of our life, right? Yes. So we wanted to talk about financial freedom today. And from the lens of both the individual and also group economics, right? I think that the way that the first time I was in your panel, I think it was the only time I was in your panel, there was a conversation about group economics, and I came in and I dropped my little economics over politics thing. And I like to use that because it's a little provocative and it ruffles some feathers. But anyways,
Definitely ruffled minds.
exactly. Yeah, but we'll get into that and what I mean by that, because you need to build the lever first before you go moving things. You get what I'm saying, right? So, and that the economic power is the lever. That's the way the world works. So, financial freedom, if you look at it externally in terms of the ends towards which it could be directed, right? You want to be financially free externally now because there are problems to be solved. And you want to be able to be independent to choose the problems that you're going to solve. Because after all, whether we're talking about a system whereby it's a capitalism or whatever the ism is, still human value has to be exchanged. You still need to measure value. Because as we know, people can develop their value or not develop their value. People can have innate talent and not have. So it's not a question that in this particular sense of ends being met. Okay, I'm not talking about spiritual value now. In terms of ends being met, people are not equal. Yeah, that's just how it is, right? So you need to have a measure of value and an exchange of value. And then you need to be free to be able to choose which problems you need to solve. Otherwise, you're kind of stuck, right, in a hamster wheel, solving other people's problems, if you will, right? And also, these problems, and by the way, it doesn't really matter. Maybe you want money so that you can become a man of leisure. By that I mean, a writer, a poet, a musician, a professor of physics, right? So that is your passion. So you want to get off the hamster wheel so that you can go do that. Regardless of the ends that we are directing our financial means towards, okay, I want to first of all talk about why it is intrinsically valuable. Forget what you're doing, okay? Forget the ends. Why should you develop your node, yourself? The nodes being the individual, the groups, the small groups, the businesses, the families. And then why should we also develop on the network level, that group economic level? Intrinsically, forget what we're doing, okay? Forget the fact that we're trying to save. We want to do it because we want to donate money to charities. We want to do it because we want to be men of leisure. We want to do it because we just want to be able to travel the world. It doesn't really matter, but there is an intrinsic value as to why. And that's the first thing I wanted to talk about. I don't know if you had any reactions so far.
No, to be honest with you, I'm really interested in the intrinsic value because right now, for me, everything is about my base. What is, I feel like your base is your intrinsic value, but I just want to see where you're coming from with it as well.
Good. So there is, if we just consider life to be valuable, okay, we take that as a given. We take that as an axiom. We don't argue over that, right?
Right.
So life is of value. There is something about life that we can all recognize, which is that life is a use it or lose it proposition. Okay. What I mean by that is your bones, if you don't stress them, if you don't put them through rigor, if you don't use them, what happens to them? They atrophy. Your muscles, the same thing. Your immune system, the same thing. Your brain cells, the same thing. Your relationships, the same thing.
Yeah.
So there is an intrinsic need. Life is about growth, accretion, the taking, usurpation, if you will. A lot of this tends to sound rough. And I like to use rough language on purpose.
I like rough language. This is the uncomfortable conversation channel. You can use it if you want.
Exactly. So life is about usurpation, competition, accretion, and so on and so forth. Whether you're a tree reaching down into the soil, you want to get the deepest root to take the nutrients from the soil. You want to have the tallest shoot and compete with the other trees around there to get to the sun. And you want to grow, right? That is also true externally, but we also just mentioned that within our system itself, we either grow or we die. It is not a choice. We don't have the choice of being like a rock where, if I just kept this rock there, it'll be fine. As a matter of fact, if I just keep you there, it's actually harmful for you as a living organism. So you need to be afraid. You need to be stressed. You need to be just take the bone and muscle analogy. The same thing is operational for your psyche, the same thing for your talents, and then the development of this value, which, let's call it economic value. The ability to be able to give somebody some kind of tangible or service aspect that helps towards the meeting of certain ends, right? Hence, that is from the individual perspective, one basic reason, okay, I'm talking intrinsically now, forget the fact that you're going to do something with this, with your developed talent, your developed skills, your financial freedom. The fact is you have no choice. You simply have to keep on going. Can't stop, won't stop. That's just how it is, okay? If you are indeed following the values of how life operates, right? So that is from the individual perspective. The other thing I just mentioned here also, it's uncultivated talents, okay? But let me mention groups. It's also true for groups. If groups don't continue to grow, compete, and move and become more versatile, in other words, not only will the environment come and, shake things up for which they might not be ready and therefore they go away, other groups might come and shake things up, right?
Like what happened in Africa, right?
And so on, and so on, and so on, and so on. So you need to always be in that situation whereby you are pushing the frontiers, pushing the boundaries, because again, life is a use it or lose it proposition. You don't stress yourself, you're actually going to die, okay? Now, then there is the whole thing of uncultivated talent, why it's psychologically disturbing. So a lot of people, for example, okay, you might see them externally. You say, hey, this guy has cultivated 50 acres of land, right? Everyone else in the hood has 1 acre. Let's talk about these acres now in terms of your talents, the ways in which they have developed themselves, okay? Externally, you see 50 acres developed, okay? But only he knows that he also has another 100 acres that is left fallow, that has a bunch of weeds. He may know that he has not cultivated that. And then that's where the unhappiness comes from. Because along with the talents, along with those acres of land, comes a certain kind of extra zest and energy and passion, almost like a manic energy to cultivate that. The flip side of talent is that kind of thing. We see it in like the Kobe Bryants, the Michael Jordans, and so on and so forth. These people are literally just crazy, right? They have to. They have to do it.
So much going on here, but then there's like something's wrong with the base.
Exactly. Now, my thing is this: if you do not cultivate, if you do not completely, both physically, mentally, spiritually, and financially, develop everything within you that you know you have, you're going to, this particular energy, right? It's going to get funneled into self-destructive behavior. Okay, that's when the drugs and the alcoholism and the women and the this and the that, you're going to start doing self-destructive things. Okay, you can talk about the idle hands being the devil's walk,
I'm happy you said that, because I was just thinking about what you said when you said that you got to go through pressure, you got to go through the stuff, for you to. But then I'm like, okay, and then I'm always thinking about our people, and I was like, well, God darn, nobody's gone through more than we have. We should be like at the top. And, as far as people going through stuff. But you just said something that was key. When you compared, to the Kobe Bryants or whoever, or people that have, all this talent and all this skill, because obviously we have a lot of talent and skill. But
it needs to be
with the piece. It's not cultivated.
You need to cultivate it. And by the way, this is talent and skill freely used in your own. It's not just you being put in a pressure cooker, right? And not being allowed to grow. That tree you use as an example, okay? If I take it and I stuff it in a box, it's not going to reach its full potential. I'm talking about here and now, where, in my opinion, for the most part, no one has put you in a box, right? We can talk about the mental boxes that we put ourselves as a result of certain external circumstances, but emancipate yourself from mental slavery, right? So the non-cultivated talents, okay, will lead you to do self-destructive behaviors. That is that kind of, I think that intrinsically, or shall I say intuitively, we kind of know this, and we know of people like this. We're like, damn, that guy is so talented, but what happened to him?
What's wrong with him? Yeah, what's going on?
Exactly. Like how come he is still a lot of celebrities are, because they know, right, that there's this other thing here that they should be doing that they're not doing. Okay. What I'm saying is all your talents, all your potential should be pushed to the extreme, right?
Wow.
Well, why, Ike? Why should I be doing that? I'm saying that, look, life and all aspects of life are a use it or lose it proposition. You cannot say, oh, I go to the gym, but I just leave my mind, I leave my networks, I leave my relationships, I leave my talents, I leave my skills alone. No. All of them should be pushed to the extreme, including the spiritual stuff, which I probably will talk about some other time, right?
Yeah.
Mastery, subjective consciousness, stuff but because that would be too much to all pack into one conversation. So from an intrinsic point of view, I mean, am I making sense as to why,
You are
given the
making
fact that, okay.
you are making sense. The only thing I question is, can you really push yourself in those extremes without mastering yourself first? Because that's
Yes.
the part. That's the part I'm questioning. But while you're saying that.
100%. So I think that mastery of yourself is 100% key. But that is a path, and this is not necessarily linear also, by the way.
Okay.
You can do all these things at the same time. While we're not focusing on that today, because if you want to go there, we could go there. It's your show, right?
To be honest with you, I don't know. Like, it's like what came first, the chicken or the egg? With me, I'm free flowing. I'm free energy. So whatever you feel like. Right now, we're talking about financial freedom. But you just said something that made a lot of sense. Our people. And when I say our people, I mean the people that, come from where we come from originally. Mm-hmm. I feel like it speaks a lot about who they're very talented, very creative, but there's a block. And the block don't just stop right there on the continent. It extends itself to all the hoods, where we are. There's definitely a block.
Mm-hmm.
How do you teach someone about financial freedom if they're not free within themselves?
Mm-hmm.
So you decide if you want to go with it.
I'll just state here that consciousness, or what we call, or what is also called spirituality, because spirit and consciousness are literally the same word, is something that in modern times is not well developed, not well understood. Let's just call it in the Western world. There are parts of the world where that is their thing, that is their specialty, at least in the past. You could talk about whether Africa before, or also India, the East, if you will, right? Those places where, spiritual technology, it was the thing that they really focused on that.
Yeah.
But these days, it's, Zoloft and therapy and BS, right? That's how we, quote unquote, deal with our consciousness. So basically, I would just say this, that your subjective experience, your user interface, because we live life from the inside out. And that's why you may suspect why I wanted to talk about things from an intrinsic perspective.
Yeah.
Not going to talk about, financial freedom is good because you can solve this problem, and everybody has different problems they want to solve. Like, why is it good for your soul, if you will? Why would it bother your soul if you did not develop your talents? Okay, so now we're going to develop our talents. Then it's like, you noticed immediately, well, how can I do that if I've not mastered the user interface, mastered my subjective consciousness? Well, you can look at your subjective consciousness as broken into three things. Feelings in the body, which can be internal emotions, right? There's sensations in the body, right? Or your external senses and so on and so forth. These are body type things, okay? If you go into certain kinds of yoga and so on and so forth, they talk about the chakras and so on and so forth. But they're feelings. We feel it in our gut. We feel it in the heart. We feel it on the skin, right? The pores and the goosebumps and this, that, and the other, right? Feelings in the body. And then we have image in the head and talk in the head, right? This is the realm of thoughts. So take any state that you may be in right now, Gina, or whomever may be listening right now. Whatever it is a combination of feelings in the body, image in the head, and talk in the head. The ability to be able to master this is key. Mastering it involves the development of concentration, sensory clarity, and equanimity. Equanimity is relaxation, balance, being able to float. That way, you don't just say things like, you are not in your feelings, rather you watch your feelings. You are not in your head, rather you can watch your thoughts. This watching, this observation creates that space for freedom such that you're not in a situation where the tail is wagging the dog. You're not in a situation where you're just being moved along by the winds, if you will. You're rather the wind vane that measures the wind. You're rather the thermometer that measures the temperature. Again, what is the wind and the temperature and so on and so forth? It's the feelings in your body, the image in the head, and the talk in the head. It's like clouds floating in the sky. It's the universe happening, just like you are the universe happening. But you can develop the skill to be able to have that observer, which you are. In other words, the consciousness, to awaken it, to sharpen it. I think that this is key 100%. And it's something that I focus a lot on in my channel. I have, if I may shamelessly plug, a playlist called meditation. Go there, check it out, right? And I'll continue to make videos about I say that it's the most important aspect of everything I talk about on my channel, because while I'll also talk about this whole financial thing, sales, persuasion, so on and so forth, all kinds of mastery flows from the mastery of your subjective consciousness, mastery of your spirituality, if you will. But I do it in a very practical way, as may be suggested by how I just laid it out, right? It's techniques to develop skills of concentration, sensory clarity, and equanimity within the space of feeling, image, and talk. That is key, 100% key to this thing. And when you have that in line, by the way, you are going to know that you had better go develop every little. It is going to be obvious, let me put it that way, that what I said earlier, that life is a use it or lose it proposition, that if you do not develop these things, that energy in there is just going to cause you to, because you're going to want to numb it. You're going to want to step on it. You're going to want to keep it away. You are kind of afraid of it because you have not gone into it.
Interesting.
So I think that I can mention that here, and we'll perhaps interweave it as we go along, with the conversation. But basically, from an intrinsic point of view, the group guilt, for example, as a result of uncultivated talent, the group shame, the delusions, the reaching, and also the victim mentality. Okay.
Whoa, let's talk about the victim mentality.
The victim mentality is a result of not developing the nodes and the networks, because it is an excuse at the end of the day. Okay. And what I'm going to say further, for the most part, when it comes to developing the nodes, which is developing the individuals, the businesses, and so on and so forth, is going to be, shall I say, directed towards more of the masculine thing, the men thing. I'm a guy that believes that, for the most part, the responsibility of building, protection, provision falls upon men. And and when I talk with a harsh tone. I haven't started yet, okay? because there's no time for excuses or BS or any of that kind of stuff. I don't want to hear no man complaining about nothing. Okay? I don't want to hear it. Okay? And you deal with, as a man, the situations that you find on the ground. When you're out there hunting, you don't say, it's this season, it's this canyon, it's that lion. What the hell? Who cares? You have to meet the ends towards which you've been directed, okay? It does not matter. So that victim mentality is an excuse, one of many, that results from people not actually cultivating their full potential, either individually or also as a group. Oh, you know what? We could be all these things. Why are we not all these things? I see one path that says, hey, we need to do all this work. I see another path that says, the white man held me back. Well, which is the path of least resistance? We know the path of least resistance. And people are going to get funneled in there to say, oh, it's because people held me back. It's just easier to do. It's simple, thermodynamics or energetics or so on and so forth. That's just how things are going to flow. Water is going to flow that way, right? So it makes sense that people will definitely flow in that particular direction. However, if you want to avoid that thing, you need to develop your potential, right? We're talking about why intrinsically, because psychologically you get affected by not doing that. And you will then get funneled more easily into these paths of excuse, such as the victim mentality. So that's what I would have to say about the victim mentality, generally.
Victim mentality. You know, I don't know. I'm like, you know, I know that we hold responsibility. But this is still what it is. You know, this is still what it is, even though we're responsible to not take it or to take it. So I somewhat agree that it's time that we move forward from the, like I said, all the power that we give to all the power that they have is the power we give. I truly agree with that perspective. But yet it is power given. So power given is power removed.
Yeah, and because this is the thing about it, you need to compete with yourself. Don't compete with others. This is true of individuals and true of groups. Okay? Let's take, for example, well, let me just reiterate that, and I'll take one kind of an example that is tangentially related. If you decide to compete with yourself, then you look at where you were yesterday and you say, am I better off today? What steps have I taken? How have I positioned myself better? How have I developed in this particular parameter, this particular skill, this particular effort, this particular discipline, right? Compared to myself yesterday. It is foolhardy, it is foolish, it is crazy, it is sinful to be looking at other people, other groups. Number one, you have no idea what other people are. You barely even know what you are, right? We are opaque to ourselves, okay? Even no matter how much you've mastered your subjective consciousness, as I was talking earlier, even then you will know even more how much of a mystery you are. But to talk about, oh, you see Gina over there, she's doing, you don't know Gina. You don't know, okay? You need to look at yourself and compete with where you were yesterday. Look at your group and compete with where it was yesterday. If, let's say, the Vietnamese decided that, you know what? Why are all those East Africans, especially the Kenyans from this particular back of this hill over there, winning all the marathons? Why? Let's compare ourselves with the Kenyans, in other words. Let's pick this kind of particular parameter in terms of physical prowess of a particular kind. They could try till the cows come home. They're never going to measure up to the Kenyans. Okay, the Kenyans are going to continue to win that thing forever. Okay, that's in terms of a particular thing, which you could say it's biological. But there are also aspects of socioeconomic, where you started from, cultural, historical, blah, 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 right? We live a lifespan, you know, if you're lucky, 100 years and so on and so forth. But we need to understand that this whole human game has been going on for millennia, with all kinds of overturnings and people passing the football from one hand to the other. If you just take the Mediterranean region, for example, which is where we call where Western civilization comes from, which, by the way, is not a white man thing, which is another confusion that people tend to have. You know, by that I mean, okay, you talk about Egypt and let's just call it ancient Africa, Northern Africa, Ethiopia, what is generally called Ethiopia back then. Then you cross over the Mediterranean, you talk about Greece and Rome and even ancient Mesopotamia, the Persians and so on and so forth. These people have been conquering and reconquering and doing all kinds of cultural appropriation and creating this stew, which we call today Western civilization, okay? Kind of separate from what they were doing in India and China until Genghis Khan came in and kind of connected these two things together, generally speaking. But the point is to look at things with this kind of a myopic point of view, like, oh, in this recent 2 seconds ago, this particular person is on top. And also I'm going to attribute to him everything that has gone on for thousands and thousands of years, all the development that's been going on. It's like, it's kind of silly, really. So, but the point that I'm making is compete with yourself from the past. It is psychologically healthy. The opposite is literally crazy. Okay, it's not a question of you have a choice. You choose to compete with yourself or you compete with other people, or in terms of comparison. Okay, I'm not saying that, you know, in the marketplace, yeah, go compete with others. But in terms of comparison within you, again, I like to look at things from the inside. When you wake up and you say, where am I at? What's the yardstick? Is where I was yesterday. You don't know nothing about anybody else. Okay. So when developing your versatility, when developing your skills and so on and so forth, compete with yourself and compare with yourself yesterday, because this gives you the willingness to be able to move the ball forward. Because what happens and why people take on that victim mentality is they start looking at other people and they start saying, oh my God, these people are so far away, right? How can I do it? It's easier for me to just start complaining. It's easier for me to say, oh, why don't we all do these things together and so on and so forth. And I'm going to come to why the node is primary, okay? Because we're talking about development of the nodes, which are the individuals or the families or the businesses, and then the network. The node is primary, okay? This sounds like, I could be some kind of individualist. Call it whatever you want to call it. The node is primary. The network connects nodes. I mean, does that make sense?
People what annoyed it. I know nodes is. I had to go look it up myself.
Okay. So basically, a network is a connection of nodes. Nodes are the points. Nodes are, let's say, in a telephone network, it'd be a connection of individuals with numbers. Those numbers are the nodes. They represent a particular individual. In LinkedIn, it could be the nodes will be the business. In any network is, broadly speaking, a connection of nodes, okay? It makes a network is meaningless, purposeless, and has no utility without the nodes. Nodes can have purpose and have an independent existence without the networks, but a network is meaningless. What does it mean to have a network, some kind of grid, right, when there are no nodes in there? What is the network connecting? It's not connecting anything. Then there is the question, what does it mean to have a financial network, okay, network of bank accounts when all the bank accounts have $0 or negative dollars? In other words, if the network exists, but the nodes are not well developed, the nodes have not developed their skill, actualized their potential, the nodes are not doing that thing which we talked about earlier, which is pushing themselves further and further into the resistance, further and further into the fear, further and further into the expansion of their skills, their talents, their gifts, then what does it mean to have a network of a bunch of broke people? Using broke as an example here, right? The point is, and because, I like to be provocative. So let's get into it. Okay, so the node is primary because networks are defined as a connection of nodes. So when you talk about group economics and so on and so forth, if you don't have valid nodes to connect, then you're talking pie in the sky, and it's also a means for a lot of people to make excuses. Rather than develop their node, they keep saying things like, oh, we don't practice group economics. We don't keep the money in the... Meanwhile, if I wanted to sell my business to you, if I wanted to transact with you, you don't have anything going on, right? And it's like, so let's go directly into this. Okay, I think I've talked enough about. Any questions? Any need for clarification or anything like that so far, or something you want?
I was thinking about what you said earlier that, and I was like, group economics is what a lot of people use. I mean, China, the Indians, when they come here, all the other nations use it. So why wouldn't it work for us? Or why isn't it a good thing? Or is that what you're saying?
I'm saying it is a good thing, but I'm saying that in order to build a house, you need to build the foundation first.
Okay.
So I say the nodes are primary. They're first, they're foundational, they're fundamental. If you don't have these nodes, which are the developed points, businesses, individuals, families, what are you connecting?
Okay.
Right? Especially when we're talking about doing a certain higher level stuff. In terms of brute force, yeah, you gather a bunch of sticks together and you can hit someone over the head and it's better than one stick. But that's a very low level kind of stuff. That does not work in the economic world. What you need, let's say we take that particular, okay, well, let's take it more granularly because yes, I like how you're bringing up other communities, right? So, and by the way, psychologically speaking, I understand my lane. There's some people whom, in terms of temperament, in terms of psychology, and all kinds are needed, right? All types are needed. But so that I put all my cards on the table. First, I put that card on the table, which I say that the majority of the brunt of the responsibility falls in the hands of men. The second aspect is I am very much a node focused kind of guy. It's a psychological type. I'm not a systems builder per se. That's not where my talent lies. But even though I'll talk about the needs for network and so on and so forth, what I mean is I could tell you a lot about how to master your subjective consciousness, for example, and all those kinds of things. I'm very much of yeah, you get what I'm saying, right? So other people are better at, let's say, organizing the church, let's just call them community organizers. I'm willing to participate in your community, but that is not my particular set of expertise or psychological dispositions, if you will, right? So kind of take the things that I'm saying with a grain of salt in that regard. But basically, a network connects nodes, right? These nodes are needed for the network to be meaningful, but without the nodes, the network is not meaningful, okay? Then let's talk about how you develop a node. Okay, how do you develop your individual strengths? How do you develop your individual talents? This particular thing that I'm saying falls on men to build and develop, okay? What is it, okay? There are some main principles that come from the use it or lose it aspect of what we mentioned, okay?
Okay.
Which is basically the main principles before we get into the nitty gritty is that you need to be moving into the fear. If you're not afraid, you're not alive, okay? If you're comfortable, you're doing something wrong, okay? What I mean
when
by
you
that,
say moving into the fear, Ike, give me an example.
okay.
Give us an example, like moving into the fear.
You're afraid of starting this LLC business, okay? You're afraid of taking on this contract because you don't think you'll be able to succeed. You are afraid of taking on this loan because you don't think that the venture that you're going to use it towards is going to succeed and you're going to be able to pay it back. You're afraid, you're afraid, you're afraid. If you are not afraid, if you don't move towards that thing, you are doing something wrong. Because remember, it is the stress, similar to the stress in your muscles, similar to the stress in your bones, which actually keeps them alive and keeps them healthy. Similar to the stress that your immune system needs to be exposed to, the pathogens and so on and so forth, in order to keep your immune system alive and healthy, right? Same thing with your neurons in your brain, same thing with your relationships. You need to put them to the test. You need to.
Okay.
Exactly. So do those kinds of examples work?
That works because I just wanted to make sure I understood. And I'm sure the people in the chat, there's one person that had a question for you. They said, does each individual have multiple nodes?
A node is kind of how you want to define it. You can define a family, for example, as a node within a network in a community. In other words, a node can be broken down also into sub-nodes. Yes, an individual has multiple nodes. For example, I talked about feeling in your body, image in your head, and talk in your head, for example. These can be looked at as different nodes. You can talk about, for example, my whole music side, my sales presentations and influencing the marketing side, my engineering side, my kind of broadcasting YouTube side. These are all different nodes as well. So 100%. But the point still remains that the node is where I have most agency. In other words, I can control all these different things. Okay, I can decide to let one die or let one grow. I have ultimate responsibility. Okay, the node is where you have the individual in this case is where you have the most agency and responsibility. Agency being the ability to act and also to be responsible. If something goes wrong, it's you. You cannot say, oh, it was because of the lack of the group economics. It's like, well, what can you take responsibility for? What can you start doing today? What's the difficult thing? Going back to the point about moving into the fear. A fear could just be a simple difficult thing. Like, you need to start that diet. You need to start that meditation thing. You need to perhaps exercise more. What is that thing that you are afraid of that you got to do? If you're not moving towards it,
right?
We know this. We know, right?
Yeah, I know.
There you go. So it's like, now, therefore, because as I said, developing the nodes, some basic principles flowing from the intrinsic reasons why. We said life is a use it or lose it proposition. Then we say you need to move towards the fear because that's where the resistance is, which keeps you alive. Because your bones die, your muscles die, everything dies and groups and societies die when they're not moving towards the resistance. So action becomes primary. Okay. So here, what do people do? They're afraid to start that LLC, right? They start reading books. Okay. They start watching YouTube channels. They start looking at, they want to be perfectly ready. Why? Because they're afraid. Right? They think that there's such a thing as being perfectly ready, which there isn't. Okay.
Ever.
You need never. I analogize it to riding a bicycle.
Right.
They don't want to fall off the bicycle. So they go read about bicycle frames, bicycle seats, bicycle helmets, trails to ride, the carbon fiber bicycle versus the steel bicycle, the way in which you need to turn your head and the aerodynamics of a bicycle. What happens when they actually get on the bicycle? You're still going to fall. Let me say that again. Doesn't matter how many books you read about that LLC. Same thing as
you still have to go through the process.
You're just postponing the fall. And most people postpone the fall forever.
Postponing it.
Postponing the fall is what people do. Procrastinating on the fall. Thinking you're going to perfectly. Look, I think knowledge is key to be able to communicate ideas because we have to work as a group. And I don't want to get too abstract, but the point is that kind of knowledge is key for communication. But you are not going to learn how to ride a bicycle by reading about it. And most things are like that. You're not going to learn how to be a business person by reading about it. You are going to learn how to communicate about it. You're going to learn how to be able to tell another business person what you want, right? Tell another bicycle rider, right, this is the kind of frame I want. This is the trail we're going to ride on. We're going to do the 6-4 split. But you can read about the 6-4 split all day. You're not going to know how to, you get what I'm saying? Communication, because we need, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So all these things, again, flow from the principle that life is a use it or lose it proposition. Therefore, action becomes primary. So, Mr. Man, you need to take action. So I'm just talking about it now. You also need to have big goals. Okay. This is something. Big goals. Well, how does that sound to you? What does that? What do you feel when I say something like that?
Big goals. A lot of fear just happened when I heard that. The thing about it is I think I have a problem with or like you said, there's fear around making big goals. And I don't know 100%. If it goes back to childhood where I think I have to do things one step at a time and little steps, nothing too big so you don't fall, like you said.
Yeah. The person, let's say someone graduates from college or someone starts a business and they say, you know what, my goal is $10,000 a month. Okay. The person, there's someone out there that's making $100,000 a month. Money is a marker. Again, remember that. It's not about the money. It's about the way this person had to develop themselves in order to make that. And I'm saying that development, you need to do it. Otherwise you're doing yourself a disservice. Right? We already talked about that. The person that is making $100,000 a month has 24 hours in a day, just like you. The person, therefore, is not doing any, in terms of work, it's still work to do the $10,000 a month goal. Right. But the person that has $100,000 a month goal has a huge tailwind, a huge motivation behind him. He is living a more, I don't want to say fulfilled life. That's not what I mean. I mean, it feels less like work. It feels less like work when you say, hey, I'm going to take down that big hill over there, because you still got to walk. You still got to climb. You still got 24 hours in a day, right? But when you were feeling that big hill stress, okay, that's when you get, just like lifting those weights, that's when you get that big hill muscle, okay? It's worth it, right? So let me put it this other way. Why do you think heaven and hell are so disproportionately, I mean, you do some bad things in life and you burn, and this is not a question of whether one believes in heaven or hell. This is a question about human psychology, right? This is how people are controlled, or this is how we have to be manipulated, if you will. Okay? Right. And none of these are bad. Control and manipulated is not necessarily a bad word. It just is what it is. heaven has to be so great, or bless you, or hell has to be so abysmal, crazy, ridiculous for us to be motivated to do things. Think about if heaven was just, I don't know what you may like, maybe a cheesecake, right? Or maybe a nice little steak dinner in a banquet. That's what heaven was. That's it. That's all you get. You know, or hell is like just one bad day. What I'm talking about is the goal, the reward usually has to be outsized. It's not about whether you get the reward or not. It's not about whether you actually get $100,000 a month. It's that you need $100,000 a month goal in order to be motivated and be to live life in that outside of drudgery, outside of, oh, I'm just doing my Monday thing, do my 9 to 5, and you know, another day, another dollar, that kind of stuff. It's not about whether you actually land in the stars. Pardon me?
Never makes you happy. I was just thinking about that today. It's like, you know, I work in accounting. And you know, when you work for people, it's like, it's just you sit there and you're just like, oh my God, it's never gonna end. But I can imagine the CEO of my company just sitting there like really, you know, happy to be him.
You know? Nailed it. I should have thought of this example in terms of when you do something for yourself, because when you do something for yourself, you tend to have that kind of big goal. Not everyone is an entrepreneur, but we're gonna get into some nitty-gritty stuff, okay? Whether it doesn't really matter. You don't have to be the entrepreneur type because it's a psychological type, okay? Right. But the entrepreneur does not feel like he's working. I can tell you that. I'm an entrepreneur myself. Like, I'm out here burning the midnight oil. I'm doing crazy things. I'm scared at night. Like, oh my God, I just said I was going to do that. Can I actually do that? How am I going to pull it off? But there's a lot of exuberance that goes, exhilaration, I should say, that goes along with that. Your goals need to be big. Otherwise, life is just drudgery. Okay? That's the point. So these are the main principles, right? But then I'm going to get into the actual practice. The principles flow again from the fact that life is a use it or lose it proposition. Therefore, action is primary. Doing difficult things is primary. Having big goals as well is primary, because you're human beings, right? You're more than just this flesh and blood. It's key what I'm saying there. The inward aspect in terms of manifesting, and I don't mean manifesting in some kind of woo-woo thing. I'm not a woo-woo guy, but I talk about consciousness a lot because I know that it is key to bringing things into being, and it is not in a linear way, step by step, as you were saying. No, that's not how it works. There's all kinds of exponential things that tend to happen when you start putting yourself in this mindset. Let's look, for example, okay, a particular timeline of node development. Let's say, okay, the first thing you got to do, okay, gentlemen, now I'm speaking specifically to you. Anyone else can apply it. But again, responsibility, building, development, protection, provision, getting that bag is on you. Get a skill first and foremost. That one is simple, right? Now, let's say we take two people. Will, okay? He went the white collar route. He went the long route, right? That's kind of the route I took. The white collar route is the longer route, by the way, gentlemen, okay? Same thing too, ladies, you might want to know that in the sense that blue collar workers can start their business. You know this, Gina, you're an accountant. So you know that blue collar people can start businesses quicker, right? A white collar person, before they're even ready they got to do this and that, and then the masters, and then they sort of get and then they got a blue collar person. Let's say our blue collar person is Ben, okay? Ben went the blue collar route. He's going to be an electrician, okay? He gets that skill. Will takes the white collar route, the longer route. So the first thing is get that skill. Go out there, get that certification, okay? Will became an engineer. Ben became an electrician. The first thing immediately after you get that skill and you start working your 9 to 5, immediately start getting whatever certifications you need to get in order to start your own side hustle.
Okay.
In the same field.
That you're working.
Yes.
Okay.
Because of efficiency. And this is about getting stuff done, gentlemen. This is not about your fanciful whatever. Remember, the reason why you're going to be financially free is manifold. One of the reasons why I do it is because I'm a creative person by nature. I'm also like, if you want to categorize me, there's no point in, but there are things I like to do, such as like philosophy, study, write music, make music, blah, 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 those kinds of things. I need to be financially free in order to do those things, right? If I was struggling, then I couldn't be like, hey, I'm going to book a flight to, exactly. I'm going to book a flight to LA, pay this particular producer and this sound engineer, right? I'm going to land, I'm going to hop in the studio, do my thing, let them take care of the rest of it, go back. You get what I'm saying? Because if I didn't, then I'll have to buy the software myself and do everything myself, taking all that time. The financial freedom allows you to buy other people's time so that it frees up more of your time. Time and money are the same thing, right? So it's not about, but what if I love doing, I'm like, no, stay within the same field you're in, because this is about efficiency. What I mean is this: you get that particular certification as a electrician. You immediately start, let's say you start working for a commercial electrician outfit, a company. That's your 9 to 5. They do, for these commercial high rises, you do electrician work. You're putting transformers in transformer rooms, you're putting the conduits down, you're bracing the conduits, you're doing all that electrician work. Immediately, again, that's why this is key. Don't just chill. Don't rest on your laurels. You need to be like, hey, what's the next step? I need to start my own. Okay? Get your certifications so that you can start doing residential electrician work. Because imagine yourself, it's like looking at two screens side by side. Okay? That's when you do commercial and residential. It doesn't take a lot of energy. It's still electrician work. Okay? Your brain is in electrician mode all the time. But if you decide, okay, I'm doing electrician work, but I'm going to turn around to go and sell hair on Instagram, that's very inefficient. You're doing electrician.
They're not going to be able to balance that.
Exactly. Exactly.
Trying to stay. Okay.
So that is the reason why. And again, it's about getting things done. It's not, but I really love selling hair, right? I don't care, sir. I don't give a damn. It's about developing your node. Again, that's why I'm addressing myself to men here. I'm not going to hear your bullshit. Oh, sorry.
It's fine.
So develop that particular skill. And then immediately when you get that 9 to 5, boom, get the certification needed to continue the drill down. Now you got that certification, you can do electrician work on the side. Start small, but start local. Your neighbors, your family, your aunt. Hey, did you know that I could rewire your conduits? My friend that has a business, you know what? I can do this. We have this new generator system. Have you heard about it? The Tesla battery thing. I specialize in that. I'll show you the way in which you can get the refunds from the government. I'll install it. We all get paid, that kind of a thing. Your friend now, in other words, I'm talking about how you start and how you get referrals. Your friend, maybe 2 months, maybe 3 months, maybe 6 months down the line, because you got your 9 to 5, right? Which is keeping you sailing, right? But you got the certification and now you're putting yourself out there as you put the shingle up, open for business, right? 6 months down the line, that friend is going to call you. Hey, do you still do that thing? Because as a matter of fact, this other business partner of mine just opened a string of 10 stores and he saw my little battery thing in the back and he wants to do that. And you're like, hell yeah, I'm still in business. Okay. Then you're going to do that. Obviously, you need to make sure that you are highly competent. This part goes without saying. Okay. This is, in other words, in order to get that referral, presumably you did a very good job, right? Most referrals are the way in which people get the most business by spending the least. You don't have to pay massive advertisement, and also you get a lot of trust. In other words, that friend of yours, okay, Mr. What is his name? Ben. Yeah, Ben is our electrician. He has a friend, okay, customer A. Customer A refers Ben to customer B. Customer B already trusts Ben because he trusts customer A, right? My YouTube is playing. Okay. Ben does not have to do all that work with customer B, selling to him, marketing to him, telling him, building the trust. Immediately, it's there. So start with your local networks. This is where the network thing tends to come about. And remember, we're building nodes, your individual self, your individual business, because without it, the networks don't make any sense. Group economics don't make any sense unless there is a Ben for me to interact with and exchange with, right?
And the same
Talking
thing
to your blue.
Yeah.
Exactly. So you go ahead and you then expand your business in a way that demonstrates mastery. What do I mean by that? Before you get outside financing from anybody else, okay? First of all, no one's going to give you anything until you demonstrate mastery. Like it says in the Bible, I believe in the book of Peter, to those whom have, more shall be given. For those who do not have, even the little that they do have will be taken away from them. That's how the world works. What does that mean? This means this. You go to the bank for a loan, unless you can demonstrate that you don't need the loan because you have collateral and good credit, they're not going to give you the loan.
Isn't that
You're trying
something?
to get exactly. But it's like that with all human interactions. You're trying to get her number. She's less likely to get, in other words, desperation does not work. People want, you come to her like, in other words, people call it confidence, right? If she can see that, hey, he really doesn't need my number, then she'll throw. It is best to attract than to beg, is what I'm saying, right?
Oh,
when
I
you
love
demonstrate
that.
mastery,
It's best to attract than to beg.
The number will come at you when you are standing on your own 2 feet and you're not dependent upon that number coming at you. When you're standing on your own 2 feet and you're not dependent on this investor giving you money. In other words, you're saying, hey, how do you demonstrate that in the terms of this business now? You have bought another truck. You've got your first truck, okay? And you got your tools in the truck. You're doing your side thing. Remember, you have not given up your 9 to 5. Minimum of 60 hours a week, gentlemen. No BS. I don't want to hear your complaint about a life. Minimum. That's the minimum. Okay. This thing that people call, oh, but how about my life? Your life is BS. Your life is crap. Your life involves watching Game of Thrones and wasting a whole bunch of time doing useless things. That's what you call a life? Well, then you get what you get. Okay. That's not a life. A life is doing what you need to do because you know that life is a use it or lose it proposition and you need to expand and push and you need to be moving into the fear and moving into the resistance all the time. That is a life. Okay. So you have that 9 to 5. You've gotten this truck now, one truck. You've done the business. This cousin referred you. Now you're like your little local neighborhood in this particular city in Milwaukee, whatever it may be. Okay. You have Aurora County, Colorado. Just give it a location, right? You're now in this town in Aurora County, Colorado. You're the local electrician type guy that does good work. You're now able to buy another truck. Now, so when you show up in front of the bank or so on and so forth, you're going to say, hey, here's what I've done so far. Okay? I've been able to service these clients for this long, and this is my projection for how I will grow. I don't need your money. It might slow my growth. Or maybe I'll get money from someone else. As a matter of fact, you're interviewing the bank. In other words, you're interviewing the person that is going to fund you. Okay. That is one main reason why you should approach it that way. And then secondly, always wait before you go ask for funding because you don't want to sell off portions of your company. Because sometimes, like if you watch Shark Tank or that kind of stuff, a lot of people will ask for a percentage of your company when you're looking for funding. You don't want to do that too early because you don't know what you can build by yourself yet. Okay. So you got that 9 to 5. Okay. Remember our friend Will. Will is still probably in school. He just graduated also. Now, when Will, because he did engineering, when he gets his first job, what is he going to do? He's going to immediately start studying for what they call the PE exam, which is the professional license exam, which allows you to be able to design and stamp things for yourself. You can work for someone else. Maybe you get a cushy job and you're like, oh, I'm cool. I'm getting my 6 figures. No. Immediately start doing the same thing that Ben did, which is start working on getting that certification so you can start your own business. Same thing for you, Will. 60 hours minimum. And if you're already working 60 hours, because engineers tend to work a lot of hours, add more hours to it. I don't give a damn. Okay. There are people doing it. Success leaves clues. Okay. You think, look, let's not even go there. Elon Musk, this, that, or the other, all these people doing all these things. You don't hear them complaining about why are you even counting the hours? Let me mention this. Work-life balance is a myth. Work-life balance is the matrix. Ask the farmer, okay? Go back to the motherland and ask the farmer where his work starts, the farm starts, and where his life begins. No, life is just life. Work is life. Life is work. If you're not happy, if work is something that you have to escape from, there is a problem. Let me say that again. I'm not saying that it may not be the situation where you look at work as something bad, but you need to wonder about whether the problem is in you or it's in external circumstances. You need to go balance yourself spiritually. Again, remember we mentioned that mastery of your subjective consciousness is key. But if you're not in a state from within whereby it is my life is work and work is life. What do you mean work-life balance and so on and so on? That's the matrix, bro. That's people telling you, funneling you into this little thing. You over here compartmentalized. This is your cubicle life. This is your TGI Friday time. And this is your TV time. And this is the time where we sell you this. And this is the time where we sell you that.
And
Get
when
out
you
of that.
up, your life is done. That's all you've done.
It's like, no, life is life and life is work. Okay. Life is, because you will not even be looking at it as work, because you're moving into the resistance. You're moving into the fear. It is exciting. You're scared, right? You're like, can I make this? Okay. Mr. Ben, he's like, oh my God, I just got these new clients. Okay. I just told this customer A that I can do those 10 stores. Will I be able to do it? Do I actually have the expertise? Okay. You're staying up at night studying, so that he's asking the people that he works with in his commercial 9-to-5, can I get this done? He is living a full life. Unlike the people who say, oh no, I just put my 9-to-5 down and I go drink beer with idiots at the bar. Like, you get what you get when you live that kind of life. You get what you get. Those are the results that your life will show the outcomes. Okay. This other guy that you see that, is kind of running helter-skelter, he is actually happier. He is actually happier while building that side hustle of his, okay? So he gets that other truck.
It's his, and he knows what he's working for.
Exactly. And he knows that the people who are drinking beer at the bar are just numbing themselves, right? They're numbing themselves because they know there's something more in them that is really agitating them.
That's facts.
Would be pushing on them, would be saying, hey, what have you done? What have you done lately? Bah, 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 right? Because as a child has all this exuberance. A child has all this kind of, exhilarating feelings. They don't look at, oh my God, I stop now and I'm going to sit over here and numb myself. It's like, no, there is no stopping. It's go, go, go. There is no idea of, well, this is work and work is bad. And over here is life. And life involves numbing myself, overeating, doing stupid things, having meaningless conversations and complaining. No, that's not how it works. So both Will and Mr. Ben are building on the side, adjacent, remember, very next to the thing that they're doing for their 9-to-5, a secondary business, because this will also feed off each other. We mentioned the efficiency aspect, but also because Ben is going to meet people, because he's in the electrician world, in his 9-to-5 that he will not otherwise be able to meet if he gave up that 9-to-5 and just, let's say, completely focused on his side hustle, right? He's going to be able to meet people at a higher level, learn technologies at a higher level, get free training at a higher level, maybe even because some establishments, some companies will pay for furthering education, right? So maybe there's a few more certifications he needs to get, right? And he'll get it from his 9-to-5, right? So never turn off a faucet once you've opened it. The 9-to-5 is open. It's filling up that bucket. Don't turn it off. Go next to that faucet, open it up, start filling it up. Both of them will cross-pollinate. He's also actually better at his 9-to-5 because he does residential work after hours, right? It just makes sense.
Because he has that on-job training, yeah.
Exactly. So he's getting promoted faster, getting more access. He's getting more love, right? He also, by the way, because here's the thing, that's why I say competency is key. Competence also protects you. Let me put it this way to you. Let's say now, okay, because controversy will always find you, right? Because we're social animals, and not everybody has good intentions, right?
Sure.
So someone doesn't like Ben for whatever reason. Maybe it's his cousin that, his cousin felt like he did him wrong because he feels like Ben is cheating him out of something. He doesn't understand that Ben is doing work. That's why he's where it's at. He feels like, oh, well, Ben is not putting me on, as they say, right? Yeah. Ben is keeping it all to himself.
That's how we always feel. Our people.
Exactly. Ben is out there working 2 jobs, literally. Ben is doing all this stuff, but people are like, oh, he's not putting me on, that kind of thing. Maybe it's his cousin. Maybe it's some competitor in Aurora County over there. They go now and they tell somebody, hey, you know that Ben does not have the license to do that particular kind of job over there. He's breaking the rule. But because snitching. But because Ben is competent both in his 9 to 5 and also with all the customers, because every time you call Ben, he does the work. Every time you call Ben, he goes above and beyond to give you the answers. He delivers on his promises. When you hear that thing that, oh, someone's coming to you with Ben with bad news, you're like, leave me alone. As a matter of fact, Ben just saved me $10,000 yesterday because of his excellent work. Ben saved my ass, okay? Ben also, I was able to refer Ben to a friend of mine, a client of mine. Ben did great work, and because Ben did great work, now I have better relations with this client, right? So I don't want to hear nothing about Ben breaking some municipal rules about some little, get out of here, right? You get the point.
Something came to mind when you were talking about that. You know how they always say that, always, this is the Black channel. So, you know how they always say that we don't, our service, that's the biggest problem. When going back to group economics, a lot of people do not buy Black because customer service, cost, product, goes back to what you were just saying. I thought about that.
100%. That's why I said that you got to make sure that you are extraordinarily competent. Why? Not for just the external reasons which we mentioned, which is, okay, you're going to get more business, you're going to have a reputation, you're also going to have what I call concentric rings of protection around you. Because any shade that comes the direction of Ben is going to die. Why? Because everybody loves Ben. Trust me. People don't. Also, if you're going to do anything worthwhile, you're going to break some rules. Let me say that again. If you're going to do anything worthwhile in life, you had better be breaking rules. Because otherwise, you're a nice little, person, nice little cog in the wheel, nice little person in the assembly line just doing what the rule makers have already made. That's bullshit. Okay?
I have some examples of that. It's like being in a job and you're always playing it safe. You follow the rules. But the other people, the people that seem like they're not doing anything and they just try to, take the quick way out in certain situations, like, instead of doing the job as it was projected to do, they do it, in a way where they have other people working hard for them, but they get the raise. And you're like, but I follow the rules. Doesn't
100%.
always work, guys. I have experienced
that. Exactly. And when you think about innovation, innovation by definition is a new set of rules. Okay, when Uber came through, it broke all the rules about taxis and taxi cab unions and so on and so forth, because it did not exist before. Okay, if you're gonna do something worthwhile, in other words, the bigger it is, the more rules you're breaking by definition. By definition, gentlemen, by definition, you're gonna be breaking rules. If you're thinking small and thinking, I'm gonna just fly under the radar, I'm gonna follow all the rules, you're not thinking big enough. Those goals are not big enough. You're gonna break some rules. Ben is gonna be breaking some rules because he's expanding too fast and doing certain things that the municipality, whom, by the way, they put those rules there because they got bribed by Ben's competitor. We all know how it works, right? Ben's competitor wants to sew up the little market or whatever. They form a little association. They bribe the municipality government. They make some kind of rule. Ben's like, F it. I'm going to go do that kind of job. They know me. They trust me. I can do it. Somebody goes and starts snitching. It dies because Ben is competent. Right?
He's liked.
He is liked because he delivers, okay? Nobody wants to, because people are not malicious, especially when you can demonstrate value to them, okay? People are not malicious that way, especially when you can, so you expand, you build, and then what's gonna happen at some point, okay? Because again, get a hard skill, immediately you get the job with that, open up, or start looking for the certifications that are needed to get the to practice that hard skill on your own, and then get soft skills so that you can expand. Soft skills are 100% key. Selling, persuasion, influencing, marketing, right? Being able to present to people. That's where the exponential growth starts happening, okay? Because technical skills are a dime a dozen. But to have technical skills, in other words, let's call it talent stack. There are people whom can be the 0.0001% of one particular skill, let's say golfing or whatever it may be, but that's not most people. They're 0.001% in physics. You're going to be Einstein or whatever, but that's not all people by definition. They're a tiny percentage. But you can be in the same room as Einstein and Tiger Woods, being someone of equal stature by stacking talents. You're not the best writer, but you're a good writer. You're not the best presenter, but you're a good enough presenter. You're not the best business person, but you also, when you stack those things, you become very unique because there are only a few people that can do engineering, also do presentation, and also sell, and can also do these other things. You immediately become as unique as that 0.0001% person. Okay, so that's the thing. You need to get those soft skills. So Ben and Will now, they've joined Toastmasters, okay? Because they know that they need to develop their speaking skills so that, when they're knocking down the doors and doing all these other kinds of things, they can be better at it. They start focusing more and more, again, we're developing these nodes, okay? More and more on the soft skills of things. Now, what can they do? Ben has this big job coming up. Therefore, his whole time is focused on it. He has 3 trucks now. And he has but he's still doing all the work by himself. He kind of outsources to some other people. Who has he outsourced to? A couple of ways you could do that. The little kid, let's call him Bruce or whatever, right? In his 9 to 5, right? Bruce shows some potential. Bruce shows that he too wants to develop his node, right? Because that's the person you're going to give. You don't just give, because Ben knows all these different people. Okay, at work. Who is he gonna say, hey Bruce, but he's gonna go to Bruce. He's gonna say, Bruce, you wanna make some extra money this weekend? I got a job, it's a 10-hour job, Saturday and Sunday, you can split it up 5 hours, 5 hours. I'll give you $50 an hour, you can make $500 this weekend. Okay? Right? But Ben is getting paid probably $150 per hour. But he can give Bruce $50. Why? Because Bruce has not developed himself to the point where he can demand $150 from the marketplace. No one knows Bruce. Bruce has not developed his node. Bruce is not the electrician par excellence in this city in Aurora County. That's Ben. Ben has done all that work. So here's where the exponential growth starts to happen. Ben is literally making $100 an hour by giving 50 to this other person. $150 hour job, gives 50 to Bruce, whom has demonstrated that, hey, you know what, this Bruce, he's a good kid, got a good head on his shoulders. He looks like, okay, Bruce, you want to do some work? $50 an hour, and Ben can focus on this big job, right? He's still just getting that $100 an hour, right? That's exponential growth. Because people always look at it like, oh, do I need to create extra hours, right, in the day? No. You can literally start giving people, blessing people, if you will, because you have done that work. You went in there, you knocked on the doors, you were competent, you started with a small network, you got the referrals, you got 3 trucks now, you are known to deliver such that you can go and say, well, my rate is $150 an hour, turn around, give Bruce 50, okay, because he's a good kid and he's coming up. Otherwise, because Bruce is maybe getting $25 an hour in his regular job. Bruce is like, wow, 50, right? Exactly. And you keep the other 100. And if in case anyone is thinking, oh, well, isn't that exploitation? It's like, no. Ben is the one awake, scared every night. Okay? He is the one doing that kind of. Bruce is not there yet. Point is, he sees something in Bruce and he's trying to bring Bruce along. His point is Bruce should be with him at some point, competing even, right? Bruce is not there yet. If Bruce was there, Bruce would be able to go to the client and say, hey, give me $150 an hour. But nobody knows Bruce. Bruce has not done taking the risk. Bruce has not moved into the fear. He's only beginning. He has said yes to Ben. Saying yes is 100% important. Part of that whole moving into the fear thing. Shoot first, ask questions later. You got to move into the fear, okay? So now, guess what happens? Remember our friend Will, who's doing the same thing? He took the long path. He got his 9 to 5, making his 6 figures, but he immediately started studying for the PE exam. Now he's got his PE exam, okay? Now he's doing some work as an engineer, okay? They know some other people, or other nodes that are developing themselves. Remember, the whole point of this is nodes are primary, okay? Without the nodes, the network, you're only as strong as your weakest link. And it's another way to put it, right? You're forming this net, this chain. If it's all weak, it doesn't matter. Okay. So this other guy that they know, that they graduated college with, it's in their network of friends. He is in some government agency in Aurora County. Okay. He has now come into, or he has the opportunity, because he's also good. He's developing himself. Okay. He's developing himself. He's now in a position to choose a contractor for this big job. Okay. And it specializes in these particular solar cells, which Ben has kind of made a name for, right? Ben is the little solar cell guy of Aurora County. Okay. They need a minority owned business to get federal funding, the kinds of things which I'm quite sure you know of, right, Gina? Yeah. You need a minority owned business to get federal funding for this particular job. Their friend in the Aurora County person, he immediately thinks of Ben. There are many other electricians, okay, that they know. Ben knows other electricians, okay? The ones who drink beer after work and don't do what Ben is doing. They're part of the network. Are they going to get the job?
Nope.
No. Ben is going to get the job because Ben developed his node. Is their friend, let's call him James. The friend James in the municipal county government agency. Is he cheating somehow or whatever? No. Bruce, he knows, is the best guy. No, Ben. Ben is the best guy for the job, right? Ben, because everybody likes Ben. Why? Because Ben always delivers. It's like, oh, cool. I got an opportunity to be able to project manage and choose the contractors for this job. I'm going to call Ben. Ben will not let me down, right? I call Ben. Ben gets the job, okay? We need an engineer for this job. Let's call our friend Will, right? He also has been developing his node. He started his own side hustle. He is known as, he does this kind of thing very well. They bring in Will, okay? And now they're able to build, okay? This is how you develop that node. And this is how, and I use it in a microcosm, and then we'll go into the broad networks, okay? But I'm using it as a microcosm here to see that it is not really about this network. It's about the nodes that developed, because they know other people. Tyrone and Jerry and whomever else, right, did not get the call. They're not going to get the call, even if they're electricians, right? Ben is going to get the call because Ben developed the node, and the node is about, the network is about equal exchange, okay? This guy in the municipal county needs somebody he can trust. Trust is the lubricant that allows for quick decision. He does not have to think. He does not have to wonder, because maybe Tyrone says, hey, you know what? I just started my electrician company. You know what? Maybe I should get, I could get a certification real quick and do that. But the guy doesn't want to have to think and worry and wonder if you can deliver.
To see what you're going to do or not do or what you're capable of. He wants to know he's working with somebody that know what they know.
Exactly, and it's proven. Mm-hmm. Has suffered through, has taken their licks, has fallen off the bicycle a few times already, and knows the ropes. And they know that Ben will stay up all night to deliver. Tyrone has not been tested yet. Maybe Tyrone might crumble, right? So this is the importance of developing that node. The point is, there is this network of 3 people, okay? Ben, the electrician, okay? This other guy, I forgot his name now, but he's in the municipal county government worker, right? And then we have also Will, the white collar guy, okay? They were the ones that benefited from their network because they were the developed nodes in the network.
They put in the people.
They put in the work, and they put in the work on themselves. They didn't put in the work talking about the network, talking about how we need to do this and how because perhaps Tyrone is that guy that's always talking about, you know what, we need to build together and group economics this and group economics that while he's at the bar drinking. Those are all the conversations he has. He's always talking about it. He talks a good game. We even like Tyrone, okay? He's the life of the party, right? But all he does is talk about it, okay? He is not going to he is always, quote unquote, networking. Always networking. But there is no node. He is not a viable node. He is not a valuable node. He has not developed himself to the point whereby automatically Bruce or whomever else, these guys are going to call him because they want frictionless decision making, because that trust has been built No, it's not going to happen. So that is now I've gone on a while here and talk about the developing of the node. I don't know any thoughts, questions, or something in the comments you wanted to address, or yeah, something.
I wanted to know if anybody has any questions for Ike so far in regards to everything that you guys are learning. I know it's a lot, but this is important. It's very important because, to be honest with you, the more he talked, the more I realized that this is a big part of what's missing in our community, understanding, how to make the best connections. And, he's called, and making sure that you are a good connection for someone else. I mean, getting yourself there. I think I'm starting to understand it all. Like, I think so. Network is nothing if you have a whole bunch of broken people or people that are not equipped to even do what they individually should be doing. Meaning that you want a network of people that are on top of their game, that put in the time, the work, and could bring value.
Exactly.
So, I don't know how you want to handle this. If you want to invite people to come in, I can invite them to come in if you have any questions based on everything that you said, maybe one person at a time.
If we keep it, well, generally, I'm a structured kind of guy, generally speaking. So, and I know that I put a lot on the table. So some people may have particular questions about, elaborating and unpacking certain parts. Yeah. So we can kind of just focus piece by piece. Otherwise, we'll continue to just put more and more and more on the table, and you get what I'm saying.
I'm thinking one person at a time. So I just put the link out, guys. If you have a question, if you'd like to come in and, speak on some of the things that you heard Ike speak on tonight. It seems like, for me, I'm getting it. I'm understanding that, when we talk about building businesses and we talk about coming together and working with people, it's not enough to just, go and say, okay, I like this person, so let me work with them. No, you got, it's nice that this person's nice and they make you laugh and all of that, but you got to make sure that you yourself understand what it is that you're doing and put some work towards what it is that you're supposed to be bringing to the table. And then by doing that, you'll be able to recognize your network because you'll know your worth. At least that's 100%. What I'm saying so far. So,
yeah. As they say, people say it's not what you know, it's who you know. But that's another kind of BS statement. It's, look, they know Tyrone. Tyrone knows them. Tyrone's not getting the call.
You have a familiar face. I think you know this guy. His name is Keizo. Welcome, Keizo. Welcome to the conversation, my brother. Please tell me what you think about Mr. Ike today. He's put some things on the table that I'm going to have to go back and look at this and really absorb. Because, I'm all about that group economics. But, Ike made me think about something today. Group economic means nothing if everybody's not, putting in a certain, level.
And Kaizo, 1 second before, because it may be something that perhaps, because I reckon I know Kaizo, and I know he's the systems guy. He's like the other half, like, because the psychological types, right? He's that systems guy that can tell, like, okay, well, we need to do this, and then the government, and then the diaspora. Great for that. So I just wanted to say something about the network, right? That basically the network basically connects now these nodes, okay? And the more nodes we develop and take out of the local space, in other words, maybe in Aurora County, you have these particular nodes and they have their network of, Bruce, and because Bruce is coming up now ever since he got that $50 an hour, now he's doing his thing, right? And then Ben and Will, and then the other guy, but then use of the internet, okay, very simple. You can connect it with the other nodes in Dallas, in Silicon Valley, so on and so forth, with a simple system that is able to vet these nodes, okay, and have a system whereby they call it trustless, but what trustless means is frictionless trust. In other words, let's take, for example, if I call Ben and I say, I need a tax accountant, and Ben, refers me to Gina, I don't have to check, oh, is Gina any good? Because Ben,
Ben.
Exactly.
And I guess that's how that works when, when people say, okay, like in Atlanta, the thing is, you got to know somebody to get hired, meaning that people hire people They
Mm-hmm.
choose. People always hire people they know. Like, you got to be connected. And when I think about that, it's not just knowing people, it's knowing what you do as well.
Exactly. They don't just bring everyone in their network. It's like, no, it's the one person that they know is not going to mess up. It's not going to make them look bad. That's the person they bring in. So yes, there is an idea here in terms of building a network, but the nodes are primary, and then the network is a way of connecting, vetting, and having a grading system for these different nodes, so that, because trust is a function of culture. Basically, what we said that trust is a lubricant, right, between these people. But when you have a culture that is functioning, it serves the same purpose. Like, I recognize that guy over there. He's a Nigerian. There's certain things I can trust about him by just looking at a couple of markers. This is his last name, he's from this. I know I can trust certain things. It's similar to the way that you get what I'm saying. This is how you build culture, generally speaking, writ large. But anyways, Kaiser, what you got for us?
Systems guy. Welcome, Kaiser.
Hey, can everyone hear me?
Yes, I can. Welcome. Nice to see you.
Yeah, nice to meet. Nice to say hi to you, Gina, and also Ike. And thank you for the very interesting discussion, breaking down the specifics of noding and everything. Now, I guess my comment here, or statement / question, is that how do you maintain and how do you grow the node work? And node work meaning node network. So before it becomes an actual network, how do you spread those nodes, and how do you pick the right node to follow? How do you understand that the node you're dealing with is strong? I know there's risk involved, as you said, but are there any strategies that you have that can allow us, especially the ones who are starting out, and if, for example, if I risk something and I'm still small, it's going to hurt me more than, let's say, if you risk something, because I'm not quite there, that exponential phase whereby, the more shall be given more yet, etc. So how do I then vet the nodes before I interact with the nodes?
That's a good question.
So we can create a system, okay? And I think we'll have to go into systems land now, because I think that in my little small Aurora County example, they knew each other, and they were calling, Bruce, Ben, for example, always called Will, the engineer, when he had certain questions about engineering. Okay, and he knows that Will is doing his engineering thing. Will always has answers. Will always delivers. Okay, so this is how they built that trust. Now, on the system level, basically you can have just like some people use Yelp, right? And do you use Yelp, Gina, or any other kind of rating system?
No, I don't use Yelp, but I'm familiar with it.
Okay. Now, in the internet, let's say you buy stuff from Amazon and you look at the Amazon rating system, so on and so forth. This is a great way for other people to outsource that kind of a rating, vetting, trusting mechanism, right? So you can have a system whereby, let's say you build this network, okay, connecting these different nodes across the United States, across the world, right? And you have a system of vetting and rating from the customers and the public, right, at large. And also you have a way of vetting which is run by the systems administrators themselves. In other words, because you build this system is a business, let's say, because like Facebook or LinkedIn or something like that, right? And you're like, okay, I'm LinkedIn, I'm Facebook, or I'm the Black Diaspora Network, whatever, internet site, okay? I'm putting my reputation on the line that Mr. Ben is a good electrician. I have my electrician vetting ways, right? That kind of a thing. Also, Mr. Ben also has ratings from the local people, right? Who gives him, ratings, and they give him, you can stars, numbers, whatever, out of 10, right? And then you can look at these different people. You can also put yourself in there, but at the same time, to your question, Kaizo, you can see, oh, well, I don't have to risk much with this particular guy because look at him. He's like the gold star, whatever, of the system, both from the system administrators and 1,000 reviews from his customers. I can trust him. Is that what you were kind of getting at, or am I addressing your question?
Yeah, you've answered it at a systems level, but I want it more specifically at the still ground level before this system exists. So family to family kind of thing. Let's say we want to get together. We want to maybe live in one house together. And how do I select the right people to then engage in those kinds of, let's say, simple situation. I I want to buy a house, and I have other people who I know I could work with, and we could buy a house together. Now the house is 100K. We only need 20% deposit. In fact, let's say it's actually 10% in reality. Now we've decided, it's going to be with all the money involved, it's going to be 15K. So each year I want to save up 15K, and then we buy one house every year. After 5 years, each person within that five groups of friends has a house. How do I vet these people before engaging in them in this business, especially if I don't necessarily know them enough to see how well they deal with money? They might be competent at their jobs, but yeah, how do I kind of figure out if I can trust them across time?
Interesting. Now, you as an individual, unless you're stuck in a cave somewhere or under a hole, right? You are social to a certain extent, and you would at least know, either personally or know of, somebody in the church, in your uncle, right? Your rich uncle, whatever it may be, or your uncle that you know that is a trustworthy person and that knows how to either vet or knows people. You can say, hey, who do you know? Or, hey, someone told me about this guy, right? In other words, it's going to be using of your local networks is one idea that I have. And I'm going to ask you what you think, Kaizo. Okay. Using your local networks and say, hey, whom can I do this kind of a thing with, uncle? Because you're going to intrinsically, that's why I said, unless you're stuck under a cave or something, we all have a way of knowing the people whom are trustworthy. Like I said, if I call Ben and I ask for an accountant, I don't have to wonder if the accountant that he tells me is good, because Ben is good at what he does and he knows what it takes to be good, and he's not going to want to screw me over, that kind of a thing. So that's the way I would say you would take that approach of using the people you already know to suggest to you other people, or say, hey, I heard of this guy and I know that you know him. What do you say about him? Does that work? And also, what would you do in that situation?
Okay, yeah, that's definitely giving me more insight. What I would do, I guess that's a difficult question, but what I would like to do is the idea that popped into my head right now is that maybe have a system whereby we could check people's credit score, because I think at the very minimum, that would allow us to know if they are competent with money across time. Because I guess the main issue I would have in this kind of endeavor with the house is the temporal aspect, because it's not just because maybe they're trustworthy as individuals, but they're not trustworthy with money. So this is a difference between competence of character versus competence of trans-temporal across time dealing with money. How do I know if, for example, they lost their job, they'll be willing to go and get another job, etc.? So yeah, maybe I would find a way to find credit score. Again, it's not a end all, because someone might have a bad credit score but still be trustworthy, etc. But yeah, maybe this system that you mentioned could include things like credit scores if it's dealing with individuals rather than the corporations.
That's very good. As a matter of fact, like, okay, to be part of this network, okay, diaspora, whatever, right? I don't know what a network is, but someone can build it today, right? It's the internet world, right? You can have these formats that already exist that you can pay for and start building these networks. It's not like you have to build it from scratch, right? You just pay for somebody to host it, so on and so forth. Yeah, I'm not the systems builder guy. I'm not particularly adept at internet stuff. I have other people do that kind of stuff for me, okay? But I know that it's quite easy, and we know that it's quite easy to do this. And as part of coming into this particular being used here, because this will be good. Let's say it could be Bruce, for example, that says, hey, and Ben, that want to kind of expand their business now and want to be known. One thing you have to do is you have to give us access to your credit score. Oh, why do I know my credit score? Well, it's obvious. We want a system whereby people don't have to think twice, because we don't want friction. Because that whole thing about, and Gina, you mentioned, oh, we don't want to work with each other because we're always wondering, is it going to be good or not, right? That's the friction. In other words, without well-developed nodes, there is no trust. Without the trust, there is friction, okay? And without this friction, there is no group economics. Or with this friction, okay, there is a hindrance, a hurdle to go over for this group economics to happen. And that's why I say the nodes are primary, because the nodes will develop that trust. And we use the granular situation in Aurora County there to see how that frictionless situation happened. Let's say, for example, there was a real estate opportunity that came up, okay? Before they call Tyrone, okay, let's say it's Bruce that found out. You know, young Bruce is coming up. Now he's got one truck. Okay, young Bruce got the money, but now he's got one truck. And he has this opportunity because he knows this uncle over here and he's selling land or blah, 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 blah. He's not going to call his buddies or what, he's going to call Ben. In other words, when you do this kind of thing, opportunities are going to start flowing to you frictionlessly because of that trust that you have built. Okay, so yeah, I think that idea that you have, guys, is very important. Like, you build this particular system, this community, you say, hey, we need access to your credit score. That way we at least know where we can put you as, you know, in terms of trustworthiness with money and so on and so forth.
But is that always an option? You know, is that always an option? Like, you know, when I say that, I say that to say, you know, when we talk about networking, and because this channel is geared mostly towards people that are looking into going to Africa, let's say you're going to Africa, that's not always an option in Africa, or there's got to be a process. I think when you mentioned earlier, I try to connect with certain types of people that you know are already connected and, you know, have, what do you call it, the noise. they know what they're doing. They've put in the time, they put in the work, they have the experience.
Right.
Connecting with them and making sure to, you know, asking them, hey, how, you know, how is this or how's that, or just monitoring how they do things or who they're connecting with. Sometimes that could be an easy process as well. You could learn
Before I leave.
Sometimes people won't gear you to the right way, especially if you're going to be competition, but definitely monitoring the way they do things, who they're communicating with, who they're doing business with, and maybe that might be an option.
Yeah, before I leave, I'd just like to make one more analysis that both you and Gina and Ike have kind of made me realize right now in real time. So, and since this is geared towards people wanting to rebuild their lives, and, you know, in Africa, you're going to have to be an entrepreneur at some level if you're going to survive there. So one of the issues that has come up with several different people is that, and this is actually very occasional, it's happened to me. So I actually own a school in Africa, in Kenya, and I've tried different businesses there. You know, I've tried to set up like a farming situation whereby I grow onions or manage certain kinds of different styles of chickens, etc. But one problem that has come up is vetting the people that work for you, because the difference between the economic ability between myself and them, sometimes actually too many people that you employ think in a short time manner whereby they think of exploiting their opportunities in the wrong way rather than just being fruitful and then, you know, working in that kind of environment. And or sometimes, let's say, brothers and sisters go there and they look for a house, they get swindled by some people, etc. So I think what Brother Ike just mentioned about the systems, and you know what, this company, we're going to give it out there, right? If someone wants to solve one of the biggest problems facing diasporans going back, go out there, set up a website just like Airbnb/Amazon with a social network ability whereby each person has a profile. You have a rating system. You have a gold star members, which means they have been vetted by the company. We know that they, you know, do business diligently and well. Then you have the other rating system based on customers as well, services such as quality of service and product, time as well of delivery of products, as well as easeability, the interaction. If you do this, first of all, you've solved one of the biggest problems already in diasporan businesses, which is going there not knowing the nodes to work with. Because here again, it's not like in America where you might know your cousin or your uncle. Here is somewhere it's a wild environment of nature where you don't know enough people yet. So this network and node that you might create, Brother Ike, thank you for bringing this up. You could actually set this up. You can literally go and buy a template for one of these websites, start it, have that very good vetting procedure in there. And guess what? You've solved one of the biggest problems, because these people aren't going to want to lose their respect, because they're going to get incentivized to keep performing well because there's incentives. The more reviews they get, the more work they get. Everybody wins. Yeah, thanks a lot for that.
That would be a huge company. That would be a major, because yeah, that's a big problem for not just Africa. But it goes back to what you were saying again, Ike, about that would be a good way of recognizing what do you call it, the nodes,
Hmm.
and connecting with the right network.
Exactly. That is pretty good. I think that this is something that can be easily done. Again, okay. Now the ground mechanics of it, will yeah, and how it all comes together. That needs to be figured out, and that's why the person who does it is going to be a billionaire. Okay, so that's on them. That's the work. Okay, how do I find these particular
Man,
people, find the rating system, so on
I
and so
want
forth,
in.
and
I
make
want
it?
in. Whoever's gonna do that, let me have a little piece
There
of
you
it.
go, free idea.
That's exciting. But this is really interesting. I wanted to see if anybody else had any questions for Ike, because this is really all, I mean, what I've gotten so far has really hit home. And it has a lot to do with, I'm one of those people that I deal with
Mm,
fear. I have like these great ideas, and there's so
mm,
many things that I see, and but then there's this element of fear, not wanting, like you said, wanting to do things in pace myself. And I always thought
mhm.
that was the safest. Like, okay, just don't do too much. Pace yourself. Don't overdo it, or you're not gonna get things done. And like you said earlier, I am one of those kind of people that I like to know things before I get into it. So I'll
Mhm.
research and research and research. And of course, you could never research enough to know it all. But that's
The
always been my
universe has a say. There's something in the military that they say the enemy has a say. Like it's not all you. Like, oh, I'm gonna have this perfect battle plan. It's like, well, you haven't asked the enemy what It's like, until you face the enemy or you face the universe. In other words, until you face reality, which has its own plans. Oh, it has its own plans. You're not gonna figure it out. It's gonna hit you from where you don't know, right?
That's deep. Okay, guys, I put the link in. Don't be shy. Come in here, ask your questions. I see lots of people talking in the comment section. I do see some great interaction, so this is good. But this is Ike is here. This is an opportunity to talk to someone that has, walked the walk, and is definitely able to give you some insight. Let me ask you something, Ike. In reference to your opinion on what would work, um, and I don't know if this is too much. What would work for for uh for Africa?
Oh my God.
And as far as because it's a whole different there's different sets of rules for different places, of course.
Hmm.
But do you think the same thing goes on there? Because when I think about here, I'm thinking people know people. There's connections. There's so many ways that people know people and are connected. But yet it's not working. you know like somebody mentioned earlier, go to the chiefs. The chief will connect you to the people that they know is best to do the work. And
100%. 100%. So I think again the thing about the primary nature, the foundational nature of the node itself, which is you, the individual, or the family, or the business, and so on and so forth, especially across time, is key. And when you say a broad area like Africa, and then we have to also look at things such as we have to we have to expand the time as well. You're not talking about one generation, two generation type stuff, right? You get what I'm saying, right? It's not just going to be a Thanos
yes,
snap the finger, it works. So let's put it this way. Okay, I'm just going to elaborate upon this, my whole node thing, but I'm also going to mention that there are many things that in, let's say, the developing world, such as Africa and so on and so forth, you can actually skip certain steps, which we've seen them skip. Like, you don't go, they go straight from no telephony, connectivity of a certain kind, straight to wireless, right? Because you don't have to go through the landlines when, the phone's already there. If you've been to Africa, you notice that, let's say, M-Pesa, for example, that way of paying, mobile money, if you will. Mobile money is way more developed in Africa than over here. In other words, there's certain things about connectivity, and some people may be able to. Are you going to Africa?
yeah, I
um,
saw that. I'm like, I'm gonna leave that up. No, answer this
um,
one.
one way of answering is actually next week on the 25th. I'm flying again. I was there a few months ago, flying
Wow.
again to. I am from Nigeria, right? as I mentioned, born and raised. I was in Ghana a while ago. I'm going again to Ghana, and then I'll be in Nigeria, and maybe I'll touch on Kenya as well. I have
Nice.
land in Ghana that I'm building, nice little complex, you could call it apartment building, just a house with many rooms where, blah, blah, blah. So I'm doing things like that over there as well.
That's exciting. That's good to know.
So I would say yes. The thing about me though is this. I tend to look at the whole world as my playground, right? And it maybe it's a personality thing, but when I moved from, because Southern California is huge, right? So when I moved from one part of California to the next, to the next, to the next, I just simply start expanding. I don't look at it like, oh my God, I'm leaving this area to the next area. For example, I mentioned flying to LA, and I'm in the Bay right now. I also work because I have my engineering license in Oregon, Washington, and California. So the whole West Coast is my area, right? Recently, since I started going to like Ghana and stuff like that, it's like, oh no, just part of just another scene, right? I'm not saying everybody should, can, or wants to do that kind of thing, okay? But that's kind of how I do it. I have, little
Sounds
satellite.
Nice to me. I think the whole world sounds nice as the playground.
You gotta have big goals, right? As I said,
Yeah.
right? You gotta have big goals. But the point is, there are ways of stepping past certain phases, if you will. Okay, so you don't have to look at it, oh, well, Africa's in this particular phase right now. How are we going to go through the trust, the this, the that? You can simply step past the way they have demonstrated that they have stepped past to going straight to the wireless, and also having more developed mobile kind of money paying and so on and so forth. In other words, more people have, quote unquote, a more banked, or you have more, quote unquote, kinds of accounts than you would expect, because it is needed and so on and so forth. So in the same way, you can, if you had this system, and again, the person who's going to develop this thing will need to work through the kinks, right? But I think that the idea that we had, whereby when Ben comes in and brings in someone into the network, okay, they're already kind of vetted, okay? It could be Ben, it could be a chief. In other words, people are social, and people know people that they can trust. You have to go in there somehow, dig in and find these network, or these little nodes in these networks, and find a way of getting truth out of them and uploading it, if you will, into this particular system so that everybody worldwide can see. Now that's conceptual, high level, and again, tends not to be my particular expertise, right? As I said, I'm a very much I can tell you about mastery of subjective consciousness. I can tell you how to take these big goals, take massive action, develop your individual, your business type stuff, okay? When it comes to this higher level stuff, not so strong. But also, I would say, okay, that we need, so if you just have an island, okay, I'm saying the same thing in another way. Like if you have a family business, okay, over time, okay, let's just say we had the Johnson family, okay? The Johnson family, they have businesses, they have money, they have, blue collar and white collar people on both sides of the family. They're doing very well, but there are no other families to they're like a little island. This community in Ohio now, let's say, is built around the Johnson family. They're the pillars of the community, okay? The problem is that kind of community is not gonna last. Why? Because the universe has a say. Again, bad things will happen. The Johnson family is going to come across some bad times, okay? They're going to need to sell their businesses at some point. But guess what? Just like BET got sold away from the community, right?
Yeah, totally.
If they had in other words, it's never just one family controlling the world. You could be like, oh, they passed the Rothschild passed it to this person, and the other person passed it. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, when you have a whole bunch of families, okay, that are able, let's say, of buying the business from the Johnsons, then it's still within the group. This is an actual practical thing of why the money leaks away. It goes away because you can't just build a whole community on the Johnson family. You need many other families because something is going to happen to the Johnson family. That's just how it is. That's the universe, right? That's how it works. You can't hold on to everything forever. So you need to be able to pass the football to some other person. And this is done. Again, you mentioned those other communities in the beginning. You said the Indian community, the Nigerian community, so on and so forth. the reason why those things tend to happen with it, number one, they've built the trust. In other words, and it's through a cultural thing whereby they already kind of know the cultural values, and they have these networks of trust where you kind of know, well, if he's a Nigerian, well, I already know he likes money. Just kidding.
You're not kidding.
Okay, it is a fact. You know, I'm gonna have to take that one on, right? So, in other words, there are certain things which are given. It goes to that frictionless thing again. I don't have to think. I don't have to wonder about certain things. It's like it's known. It's a given, right? And also, they have not just one family, right? They can pass it over to this other guy and this other and this guy and this other guy, and it stays within the community. It's not because people are, number one, yes, people have nepotism, and also they want to keep things within their own little crew. We're human beings, right? You and your family, and then next your cousins, and next your, that's how we kind of do things. But also it's because of this frictionless trust system. In other words, I don't want to have to think too much. I already know that these guys over here can handle it because they're part of my culture, whereby we already have that knowledge. Therefore, I have this well-developed nodes which give me trust, which makes it such that I can easily just pass and do business with them. That kind of a thing.
Well, you don't think it has a lot to do with them? Okay, so I'm Haitian, right? And I'm gonna speak from a Haitian perspective because culturally, when Haitians come to America, they tend to stick together. They do business together. They tend to, if there's a, like you said, the whole nodes thing and the networking, they will go out of their way. Let's say they're in Philadelphia and they may work with some other electricians that are right there. But if they're not Haitian, they will bypass those Haitians, those other people, and go, to New Jersey or something and go find a Haitian that they know to do the work. And it's because they're trying to keep it within the circle. Don't you think that's one aspect of it? Because I know, like, okay, I know this person could do the work, but that's not the whole picture. They're also making sure or ensuring that they keep it within a certain, within their race.
Oh yeah, it's multifaceted. The number one thing, which is kind of obvious, is that yes, that is true. Because when you're talking about race, you're talking about genetics here. In other words, you're talking about your brother. Right? Let's just keep it down to that level. Of course you're going to favor your brother over me. And I shouldn't even be questioning it. Right? Why am I questioning you, your mom, your dad, and your family? It's like, yeah, of course you guys are going to keep your stuff together. You guys are going to have a nice little communal thing going on. And then it just kind of goes from that. In other words, the biology, the genetics, a huge part. Another part of that is they have a certain way in which they operate, which they cannot trust. Or look, there's certain people, for example, okay, whatever, I'll just say Nigerians, for example, whom are not so shy about breaking rules. Let's just put it that way.
I love them. I love my Nigerians.
Okay, so it's like if I want to do business of a certain kind, right? And it's like, okay, well, am I sure that this guy going to be all straight? And he wants to color everything inside the box, and I don't really know. Is he gonna want to go check all the, dot all the I's and cross all the T's? We're missing maybe it's Ben talking now. Ben is still missing that particular one little certification that the union rules in Aurora County says he should have, and it's like he doesn't want. You get what I'm saying? So that's another layer of it where they have a way that they operate. It might even be immigration type stuff. 100%. Okay. Yeah. You know this, right? You don't have your papers, right?
It's fine. I have a guy.
You don't have the papers? Don't worry about it. We'll take you in. You can work in my little company here. We'll pay you under the table. We'll do this, that, and the other. So there is that practical aspect where it's like, we have kind of our ways of doing things, and we are not so sure that you can roll the way we want to. We're rolling, right? Yeah. So yeah, 100%, that is also true. But the reverse is also true in the case that like, even if you share genetics, you talked about it before, that, let's say in the African-American community, for example, they might share genetics, but because there are these other things lacking, which is the well-developed nodes, and then create that, a frictionless system whereby there's trust and so on and so forth. And they will not do it just purely because of genetic reasons, because still they have to live a practical, pragmatic life, right?
And that's why some people go outside of the fold. Go outside of the fold to yeah. But we
Hmm.
tend to do that a lot. But
And
we're
one
not
thing
developing. And it goes back to what you were saying.
hmm,
We're not developing our noids. I can't get used to saying that word. We're not developing it, meaning that it's lacking. The work that is needing to be done individually in our community is lacking. The master. It goes back to mastery because I truly believe we have a lot to offer, but there's a lot of fear.
there is a lot of fear on the individual level. We can feel our individual fear, and that's where we need to master ourselves and fight it there, right there, not to talk about the fear of the group. And again, men, I'm talking to you. 60-hour minimum. Get that skill. Get the adjacent job next to that one. Then get the soft skills so you can expand. Bring in the Bruces that you see around you, the youngins that you see around you that show promise. On and on and on. Establish the families that are strong and so on and so forth, so that when something happens over there to that particular family, okay, because Bruce's family came up on hard times, and that's why that real estate thing was available, right? But he had Ben and his other crew that he could still bring it into, and it stayed within the community. So it's not just purely a nepotism or genetic thing, okay, even though it starts with that, but it requires that there be nodes being developed, people, individuals actually overcoming the fear and not just talking about the fear all the time.
Okay, guys, I don't know. Anybody have any questions for Ike? Because this right here is interesting because it's turning my world around. I've always been one of those kind of people that we talk about group economics, we talk about working together, but there's a level to it. There's a level to it. That individual work that we all have to put in to be able to be productive in that network. I mean,
Doesn't take too long either. People
I
might
like
be
when you said
also, yeah.
earlier that there's that guy. It's like there's a whole lot of people that are good at networking. They're fun to be around. You like them. You might even love them, but can you work with them? And if you continue to work with them, where will that take you? Your company or your
100%. 100%. It's not who you know, it's who knows you and what they know you for, right? Like, let your reputation precede you. Okay, it also goes into that protection thing again that I said, right? Because especially when you know you're going to be breaking some rules, which you have to, because if you're not breaking rules, you're not doing anything. You're not doing anything new. You're not doing anything big. You're not challenging the status quo, because the status quo makes rules. Notice I don't say laws. Don't break any laws, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, I said rules.
don't do it.
Don't break laws. Break rules. There are all these rules and ordinances about this particular union. You got to do this. Oh, this and that. It's like, look, those are established by the people, the status quo, whom already have the game sewn up. They don't want to let you in. That's how the world works. It's fine. They should do that. Fine. But you're gonna come in there and you're gonna be the bull in the china shop, break things. But you have so much love around you because you're so competent and you always deliver, right? So the whole thing though about how long will this take? Because we're human beings, and I know that's the next thing that comes into people's heads, right? That's another fear, another, shall I say, immobilizing agent that says, I'm not going to do anything because, oh my God, this seems so big, right? That's why, number one, I wanted to bring it down to the individual, because you can do tomorrow, okay? And that's why, number two, I wanted to put it in the terms of that electrician guy, because what we talked about, but when Ben got his certification, and then when Ben got that big contract, this is like within a 7-year span. It does not take forever for this to happen. You know this, right? It does not. There's exponential growth that happens when you do that from within stuff. Okay, when you out there fighting you're fighting the demons, you're out there scared all the time. Okay, you're gonna grow exponentially, way beyond what you think. So if each individual listening to this right now goes and does it within 10, 15 years, where would we be? And then if somebody goes and starts that network thing, or starts, the internet site, trying to connect these nodes and create the rating system whereby you know this person has good customer service, right? That customers, you know, they gotta have good customer service. They got customer service rating, they got product delivery rating, okay, and that they got the quality of the product or service rating, okay. If we these things can happen relatively quickly, because I know what tends to enter people's head is, it's gonna be too long, might as well not do anything, might as well just keep talking about it, right? So no. Remember, I talked about the intrinsic value. In other words, for your happiness, for your growth, for the fact that you are a living being, living here in 2021, the fact that there has been a whole millennia of generations coming before you to bring you to this point where you have access to listen to my voice over the internet today, as a human being here today alive, with all the opportunities that you have, you owe it to yourself to push and move towards the fear, because people have done way more, faced way worse fears than you have. Okay, so go start that LLC. Go get that certification. Go make sure you're working minimum of 60 hours a week, men especially. Okay, and go start building. Forget about this life thing you talk about. Get out of the matrix. Stop worrying about my work-life balance and all that kind of nonsense. That's all BS, and you know it.
Put in the work, guys. I love it. It's funny because it's quite the opposite. You feel like you shouldn't be working so hard. But like you said earlier, if you're working for yourself, it doesn't feel like work.
Working for yourself, working towards something as well, because that guy did not, Ben did not give up his 9 to 5 because his 9 to 5 is adjacent. He's 9 to 5. He can meet certain kinds of people and so on and so forth. Is 9 to 5. He gets better at his 9 to 5, and his business gets better because he's just doing this cross pollination and so on and so forth, on the job training, as you mentioned earlier. But because he's doing something for himself also, and because he has a bigger goal, and because he's always afraid, it actually makes it worth living. You have to be on the edge for life to be worth living. Why do people watch horror movies, or why do we like to see feats of acrobatics, or someone doing a tightrope walk and stuff like that? It is on the edge where the most excitement is. Life is otherwise dull. Look at the word, right? Dull means numb, bubble wrap, safe. It's not exciting that way, ladies and gentlemen. You need to become acclimated with fear. So let me take it now back to that thing that we mentioned, which is about mastery of subjective consciousness, because I think that's where this really then matters. Okay. Within the space of the feelings in your body, the image in your head, and the talk in your head, that's where everything that we described so far, fear, happens. What does fear feel like? Okay. You're going to feel a sinking sensation in your stomach. Maybe some kind of numbness if it's a fear that leads to a certain kind of inaction. You're going to feel something in your chest, maybe. Okay. Maybe if it's a certain other kinds of fear, maybe you actually even start to get hot. Okay.
Yeah.
In the back, in the back of your ear. Okay. Now, mastery of subjective consciousness suggests that, look, these things are just like the cloud passing by. You don't have to be them because you can observe them. If you, Gina, can sit and watch temperature rise, butterflies in the stomach, pit open up in the stomach, and you can still have a separation whereby you are the observer of these things happening. And again, how do you get this? You practice meditation, deep breathing, so on and so forth, those kinds of exercises to develop the concentration, sensory clarity, and equanimity that is required in order to create the observer. Therefore, no matter how big the fear, okay, you know that it is still just a weather pattern, and it is out there, and you can watch it and you can master it. Also, when it comes to development of soft skills, it is key to be able to influence people, to be able to make people comfortable. You have to be comfortable, right? They are more amenable to being persuaded by you, to being led by you. Picture, for example, someone is talking in the front of a room and they're sweating and they're shaking and their voice is cracking and stuff like that. You don't feel comfortable. You're not going to go on that guy's program. You're not going to go along with that person, right? But when the person is loose, their neck is loose, their shoulders are loose, they're pacing around the room with their hands on their side. They're not doing this or whatever, right?
As if they own the place.
They own the place.
Yeah.
You feel relaxed as well. And then you can be persuaded by them. This also helps you. What I'm saying is this particular situation, which is people can intuitively see that when I said you watching yourself, because that person also has stage fright. Everybody has the physiological responses, right? Unless you're dead, whenever you have to do a presentation, that adrenaline is rushing. The adrenaline is rushing through the person who's loose. The adrenaline is also rushing through the person who's sweating and shaky. But the other person is used to watching physiological responses.
So they're looking for that. They're looking for that confidence.
They just, yeah. And when you have that, when you're that person that is relaxed, you can influence people, persuade them, bend the universe to your will, if you will, have your way. Things will go a lot better than you think. The fear that we already know, if you've lived long enough to be watching this show, you know that nothing is ever as bad as you feared it would be. You know what I'm saying, Gina?
Yeah.
Right? You're like, oh, well, she's like, it was not that bad after all. I spent 5 years trying to make it like it was. It never is that bad. What is bad is the feelings in the body. Okay, and how can you overcome that? You overcome that by being the observer rather than being the feelings. We all know what it's like to be in the zone where you're maximally relaxed, a lot of relaxation, but also a lot of concentration. And you're making that free throw, or I don't know, you're in the military and you're a sniper, or you are someone, concentrating on this particular idea, or you're playing your violin or your guitar and you're in the zone. That in the zoneness is what we're talking about, where you're literally watching yourself do stuff. Okay. This is the thing that we need to master in ourselves in order to be able to push ourselves further, whereby that guy that's loose in front of the stage, he feels the surge of adrenaline and so on and so forth, but he doesn't have to do anything about it. Okay. You don't have to resist, or you don't have to run away from. It's just like watching, again, a cloud pass by. It is a natural phenomenon. The feelings in your body, the image in your head, and the talk in your head, a natural phenomenon. They're never going anywhere. Life is not worth living, by the way, unless and until you master that thing, because we all live from the inside out. And when you don't master that thing, that's when you're going to be looking for ways of numbing it, right? Because
that's when the alcohol, the drugs, the drinking, sex.
That's when all that stuff starts to happen, right? So you definitely need to look into that aspect as well. And I say in my channel, that's the most important part of what I talk all this other stuff in the channel. I say, how to sell, how to persuade, how to influence, how to expand your network, how to build businesses, how to do this, that, and the other. And then also just general philosophical ideas of all kinds. But I say that the most important part is my mastery of subjective consciousness aspects, how to meditate, how to take that deep breath and be the master of your subjective consciousness. It doesn't matter how fast the heart is beating. Doesn't matter the heat behind your ears. It's just, hey, okay, well, heat behind the ears. Okay. Hey, okay, flutters in the stomach. Okay, just felt like someone ripped my heart out. So what? Right? I don't have to actually do anything, right? Because I can observe. Okay, just felt like someone.
Looks like we have Edward coming on board, has some questions for you probably. Edward, welcome to the conversation. This is a conversation with Ike. He's giving us some insight on quite a few things today. It started with financial freedom. And of course, we're alluding to mastery of self, which is a very important aspect we're finding out of financial freedom. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Please tell me what's your question for Edward tonight, or what's your contribution for what he's been saying?
Hello. Hi, Gina. Pleasure to be on your show again. And hello, Mr. Ike. It's lovely to meet you. Hi. Brilliant. I was listening to the entire conversation, and I think what you're saying is very great with regards with building the nodes for the network. I happen to be like a lot of things, for instance, like we spoke about, I think, was it on Wednesday when we were with Gina and about the email I sent to you, and you remember the questions I asked. What did you think about it? Did you notice how many years it took to design the ecosystem and things like that? And when you look at the ecosystem, you can actually see the nodes, like the different names there and how they all come together. I'm of Nigerian descent. a career diplomat and a retired ambassador's son. I'm currently in the UK.
Nigerians are just everywhere.
I'm currently in the UK, and while I was at university, I had traveled to Nigeria, and then I was at in Abuja in an IBB golf course, and so I had, because you know how Nigeria is, you have godmothers and godfathers, and they've all got into the top of their careers and things of that nature, and then they're like, okay, so this was during I think President Goodluck's tenure, and then I was like, okay, so what have you experienced, and what could you bring to the table? And I specifically told them, well, I think the next best thing for the African continent is actually the diaspora. And this was like years ago. This is like 2013, thereabout, 2012, 2013. And they said, well, diaspora is a broad term. Is it Nigerian diaspora? I said, no. In specifics, I said Caribbeans and African Americans. And they turned around. These were like judges, senators, and ambassadors and generals. And they turned and looked at me and said, African Americans. I was like, yes. And there was this silence in the room because they finished playing the golf and we're eating a buffet. And they said, what do you mean? And I said, I think they have the technical skills that the Nigerian diasporans don't have, because the Nigerian diasporans are specific to specific fields like economics, engineering, and doctors, medical field, lawyers, while they are more about passion about what they want to do. So you can find nuclear physicists and people in several fields that not necessary. A Nigerian is not going to travel all the way to college or university to study about the ocean, for instance. But you would find people that are that passionate about the ocean in the African American community. My major question is, this has already been designed, and like when I was speaking with Gina, sent that email through, I was like, did you notice it was several years? It's like, yes, that's one thing I noticed. I was like, okay, so I am not a camera. I'm an ambivert, so I can deal with being an introvert and an extrovert. But when it comes to cameras, because of the continent and certain godmothers, godfathers, I tend not to be in front of the cameras. I like being behind the scenes. For years, I tried to get people to be like, hey, forget about yourself as a node and look at a global ecosystem. You're already doing well as a node. I noticed a lot of spotlighting. I'm trying to make the nodes understand that it's a universe. You are a shining star. You're not going to dim the light, or no one's going to dim your light as a shining star in the universe. And it's been, so far, it's been a bit frustrating. And 2019, I had this page called Black West Africa Wall Street Nigeria Limited on Facebook. And I actually said 2019, like, oh, we're getting into a new decade. I created this page so we can network and actually start building set goals with a time frame and milestones to cross. The problem now is getting the team in America that will actually do the groundwork, because the ecosystem has been designed. I actually omitted things from the ecosystem as a test to anyone who's going to analyze the ecosystem and see what's right, what's not there, so that we can par up in the sense that I'll know, oh, so this person is paying attention. So I don't have it kind of like a means of filtering out people. So
Edward, let me ask you something, not to interrupt you, but I'm not sure if Ike even know what you're talking about in reference to the ecosystem. That is a conversation you had with me. And just to get some just to clarify, guys, Edward has been working on something for years, something he feels like will benefit not just Africa, but all, our people throughout the world, globally. So this is something that he calls the ecosystem, and he's going to be introducing that. But, in reference to that, Edward, what question did you have for Ike?
Yeah.
Not sure how long we're going to have Ike on here with us, and I want to make sure you get your question through, and he could address that, because I'm sure he don't know. He did not get, the email in reference to the ecosystem, so he's not sure what that layout is about. But go ahead and ask him the question you have, as far as you have been working on this thing for a very long time. And I know, based on our conversation, like we said, it's the people, not finding the right people to put into place.
Yeah. Yeah. And from the ecosystem, I've done that already, like found the people and known how that would work, even with government and things of that nature. However, it's finding the right people in America to do the groundwork of actually networking those people. And that's where the concern is, because like you said, it's not about who you know, but it's about who knows you. And people that are on the ground in America doing that. And I'll be open, to be honest, Gina, for you to also share the email with Mr. Ike, if he'll be interested in looking at it.
You want him to take a look at it for you?
Yeah, if you'll be interested in that, I'm happy.
Yeah, definitely. I could forward that. So what's your question for Ike?
So the question is, from the perspective of African Americans, how do they, because they do a lot of back and forth, and on the continent, they are not, if you are right now, it's kind of like transitioning to the boardroom phase right now, because the African Continental Free Trade Agreement is live. And the thing is, they have not noticed the advancement on the continent. And they keep bringing up issues of the past. Oh, this dictator looted money and things of that, which, to be honest, they shouldn't even be speaking on that, because it comes out as offensive to Africans. So my real question is, how are we going to be able to get the African Americans to understand that they should focus on their own group actually being a power investment community into the African continent and the Caribbean, and not look at all the other sideshows like the Chinese or what this dictator did or what this did? Because it's crucial as nods for them to understand, understand, and overstand that aspect. And also for them to understand how crucial it is for them to start the implementation phase, not today, but yesterday.
100%. Now, how? Well, there are... Okay, so I started a YouTube channel, for example, and you mentioned the whole thing about being in camera versus not being in front of camera, right? And I think that more people, okay, more Africans, that is, there is that fear again. Speaking of the fear about these people developing themselves, because I think we live now in a digital age, in the age of no one is hiding anymore. Let me put it that way. So, because some people are like, oh, I don't want to show myself. We're living in an age whereby all your data is out there. Okay.
Yes.
If you're in any social network or so on and so forth, Google knows what you may buy tomorrow and the likelihood of you eating lunch at this particular place versus not, and on and on and on. You know what I'm saying, right? Big data is out there. So what I'm saying is, to you, Nigerians, Africans, whomever you are out there, to come out, and that's part of the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing, in other words, right? So I'm within this space. It's more or less an African-American space, if you will, where my channel, which only is, it's a very young channel, okay, started in September of last year, right? But one of the reasons I'm doing it is to kind of just show that there is a different face. Because generally it's okay, well, what's a Nigerian? Okay, well, we know they're money grubbing bastards, and what else do we know? Maybe they don't like African Americans or something, okay? And there's always some kind of tension, and that's all just kind of the noise of different people not actually having communicated, right, one-on-one with anybody, but they just hear these things. Or what they tend to hear is people point to immigrant groups like, oh, look at the Nigerians, they're doing so well. And then what does that result in? There is a mechanism, or a knee-jerk reaction, a self-defense mechanism to say, oh no, if they're so great, how come they don't fix Africa? Or wow, they're just taking advantage of, you know all the stories, right? Yeah, they're taking advantage of what we fought for and all that kind of stuff. So part of the reason I'm just out here with my face, my name, and everything, where you can see me fully transparent. And just talking about what I want to talk about, not even addressing these particular things, because I just want to show you the human side. Here's what I'm interested in. I do music, I do business, I do engineering, I blah, 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 blah. This is what a Nigerian looks like. I'm traveling to Africa soon. I'll be giving I'll put videos of my trip and so on. So that's the first aspect, okay? You say, what can we do? More and more people need to come out of the shell, because as I mentioned, there is no shell anymore. We're not living in 1940. You're not hiding. Don't think you're hiding. So you might as well go out there, because guess what? Also, you need to control your narrative. This goes into what we're saying, that we want to control the narrative of what is the truth about Africa, right? But you also want to control your personal narrative, because guess what? Some people are going to come out, and let's say take Barack Obama, for example. He wrote in his book, okay, years before, because he's a smart, strategic kind of guy, community organizer, very opposite of my type, for example. He already knew he was going to run for president, right? He knew a long time ago. That's why he wrote that book and said all the things, all the lines of coke that he snorted and everything, so that it's already out there, so that no one can then come back later and say, oh, you know, Barack Obama did coke. It's like, yeah, we already know that. In other words, controlling your narrative, and I'm talking about it from an individual perspective now. Control your narrative is key. You come out there and they see your sins and your repentance and so on and so forth, and it actually insulates you. So it works for you personally, because number one, there is no hiding anymore. You're already all out there, believe it or not. Number two, you are controlling your narrative when people can hear from your mouth, because people are very forgiving once they make a human connection. Okay, very forgiving once they make a human connection. They see your face. They're like, oh, Ike is cool. I don't care that he did this thing back in 2001. It's fine. He already told me that he did that. He's a cool guy. That kind of a thing. Plus, also, there's the controlling the narrative of the group writ large, right? And I think that is a 100% key aspect, of what we need to do. And then what you said also about the passion and so on and so forth of the African Americans is 100% key, okay, in the sense that this side, okay, the nodes that'll be on, let's say, the Nigerian side, that's the community that I'm most familiar with, right? It's probably going to be more focused on money, right?
Exactly.
So we do.
Yeah. So that's
it's like,
they looked at me weird, and I was like, yeah, because the diasporans are not having the technical experience and passion to actually drive a paradigm shift.
Exactly. So we need the other side, okay,
Exactly.
because we're going to be doing money and trade and this and that. We're going to come here, we're going to study things like, oh, why am I studying like the ocean? Well, how much money that's how we kind of roll. So this other side that can do the other things which are needed for paradigm shift, okay?
Yes.
The spiritual work, almost, if you will, to put it in those terms, right? We need to bridge that gap, and I think that the people on the let's say the African side need to show themselves more. Just come out, show yourself, show your face, let them see what we're like and what it is all like. And I think that's how we can begin to change things.
Yeah, that's interesting. And earlier I was listening to Kaiser when he was talking about, the a platform and everything. Actually, currently that's being built. It should be launched in June thereabout. It's already being built, because that's another phase of the ecosystem, the online platform part. And, so that is what I'm just going to assure you all. That is
trying to get the copyright on that, Edward. You don't want anybody else to get in.
I have it trademarked.
Too late. No, we don't.
Trademark.
We don't know about that. You see,
I have it trademarked. Oh, you just get an invite, really. What's gonna happen is you just get an invite, and it's already being built as well.
He said, "Look, what y'all was talking about, I've already trademarked." Trust me, you don't have to work on it anymore. I've got that.
There you go. As I said, some systems builder type needs to address that. And I know my strengths. That's not my thing per se. But I'll definitely participate and take advantage of. I'll get in there.
Yeah, you're more than welcome to be a part of it. It's an ecosystem. So the more people and the more programs are involved, the better, the more sustainable.
I just forwarded Ike your email, Edward, so
Good.
he can go through that. and maybe reach out to you. Because I know this is something you're very interested in. And it's really talking about what we're talking about now. You're trying to build something. So you're trying to see what people you need to put into those places that's gonna, and I think that's all impacted on what we're talking about tonight. And it's funny because you've already got a specific group of people that you want to work with. Now, going on what Edward said, why those specific group of people? Why do you think they would be better placed to work with? That is something that you're definitely going to have to work out. Yeah, but we'll talk about that once we talk.
The platform was my plan B approach because I've been DMing people like, hey, try and get on this, and then I wouldn't have any response. So I'm like, okay. If you like, social media, I'm gonna build one and then invite you on that, and then if it's cool enough, you stay in, and that's my plan B as well.
Look, Kazo said you have competition. I will build mine. This means
no, it's not a competition. Trust me. It's just all love, and
working on it.
It'll be great to see what you build as well, and we could definitely cross it together as well.
There's Facebook, there's Twitter, there's YouTube, there's Instagram, right?
Yes, so the more we're in it, the better. The more we control the data, the more we control the narrative, the better for us all. So
I don't want to keep you up all night. You know how I roll on this channel. If you don't know how I roll on this channel, we could go on for days. So
I know. Yeah.
Thank you very much for having me.
You're very welcome, Edward, and thank you. I look forward to talking to you. I know we have something coming up this week, right? This week, you're talking about the ecosystem, which is interesting, and definitely going to be looking forward to that. So, thank you so much for coming through.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Ike. And Edward. Looking forward to more conversations with you.
I did forward your email.
Yeah, all right. Thank you.
I was going to be up to Ike to see if he responds. I'm sorry, Ike. Look, he came up here and just kind of finagle his way into getting.
I see it. I see the email arrived already. I will definitely look at it.
All right. Thank you. All right. Enjoy your day. I'll be watching.
Man, I got to tell you something. I think Nigerians are one of the most interesting humans on the face of the earth. They should be more powerful than what they are right now. Nigerians accomplishing great things all over the world. But that being said, I want to say this, Ike, in reference to everything that you've given us today. There's really not enough time to talk about mastery of self. I am gonna have to have you back on here again because that's a big topic. Because I don't think you've got us thinking about it, and now it's time to learn about it. But I want everybody to please, if you haven't subscribed, please visit Ike's channel. It's just like it's spelled right there, Ike. Ogamian. I know I'm mispronouncing that. But that being said, I love his channel. I've been going there for, I've been working on learning how to meditate. That is something that comes hard for me because I'm always thinking. I'm always thinking. So, I find it beneficial to go and learn. And there's so much more to get. Now, I want to talk about your music. When did you start reggae? I love it. I love.
That reminds me, by the way. Yeah, I am working on your song because you mentioned. Yep, I'm working on something for you.
I appreciate it, but
no problem. I'll send you a little sample.
Has a rough draft soon. I'm gonna put it on my little machine here, where I have this little, so every time. But I love it. I love it because I'm a fan of reggae.
You can chop it up and use it in whichever way you want. So basically, okay, so music, right? When did I start? So a lot of it I can explain in hindsight, right? When people ask like, oh, when did you know you have a passion for music? Well, first and foremost, everybody loves music, so you never quite realize, in other words, in real time as you're growing up, that there's anything special about your particular relationship to music. Because it's like everybody listens to music, everybody loves music. However, I realized at some point, not looking back, which I also know now, that there is a thing about lyrics where I listen to music and it gets stuck in my head. Like I just listen to songs once and the lyrics get stuck there. So that's kind of one particular aspect. Another aspect is that I always had this thing about performance, okay, which is kind of strange because I'm a very put your head down, stay in your cave, work, work, work. Not a lot of social type stuff going on with me, generally speaking. Okay. There is an introverted aspect of me. In other words, I recharge by going into my own, my cave. But one of the earliest memories I remember was my parents calling me and my brother out when they had these guests over to do some kind of particular
dance.
Exactly. I remember that. And now I'm only bringing it up because in hindsight, you have to kind of connect the dots, right? Because I didn't think anything that was special about that, but apparently they thought that was interesting enough for them to be like, hey, I come do your thing while they're sipping their wine and stuff, right? So exactly. So then as in high school, I realized that, again, given the ability to memorize lyrics and also there's a certain kind of performance side, I kind of use it a little bit as, for social clout, if you will, that kind of stuff, freestyle ciphers, whatever it may be. Like I just knew that I had that ability to perform. Then when I came to the United States, 17, my cousin, okay, Aitwa Ogiamen, by the way, he comes to my channel often. He's the president of American Heritage University. I interview him from time to time about, things like if I'm an entrepreneur type, he's a CEO type. There's a difference. He's more structured. He keeps things going. I start shit. And he makes sure that
he makes sure that it stays within the lines. I get it.
Yeah, exactly. So this guy had a Casio keyboard, right? With 6 channels, whatever. And he will remake these Dr. Dre beats. And he's also very gifted, kind of like creative musician type. Then that was my first foray into actually making music. And I started with hip hop. Okay. That was my first thing. The journey towards reggae started with hip hop.
You're gonna have to drop some reggae or some hip hop before you leave here, because people in the comments say you got to play a sample of that reggae, bro.
or we could just do it a cappella, right? It's like I can definitely. Well, you can play samples or however it may work, okay? But I started with hip hop, which, by the way, is the hardest thing to write. Okay, in other words, good hip hop, not trash, right? Whenever we say something, we're assuming the good version of it, right? It's like, okay, when I say hip hop, I mean good hip hop is the hardest thing to write because of the volume, number one, the sheer volume. 16 bars could be like 2 songs, and 16 bars is only 1 verse in hip hop, right? And also, you got to be witty, okay? You got to be clever with it. It's not just, I went to the whatever and they didn't have my. It's got to be witty. You got to have that wordplay. You got to make people go,
you know what I'm saying? Yes.
Exactly. Not easy to write. So I got a lot of training writing a lot of hip hop, and then making beats too, and moving from the Casio keyboard to the DJX to the this and the that, and then you start doing it. You start getting programs on the computer, that kind of stuff. Got a little studio, got my keyboard thing and some other things going on over there. Might not be able to see it, but I just kind of continued in that vein to do those kinds of things. And then when I met my guitar player, Hispanic gentleman. Real musician, I like to call him, because he actually studied music and so on. So I learned by ear. I listen, as I mentioned before, like music gets stuck in my head, right? And I'm good with just if I hear it, and also I can come up with it and then play it on the keyboard, blah blah blah. Right? I met this guy. He was into reggae. I'm like, reggae, I can do that. It's all rhythm and all that kind. I'm Nigerian, from the continent.
Do it. You didn't. It's okay.
That's what it goes with the point about say yes, shoot first, ask questions later, always expand, right? Don't be like, I can't do it. No, that's BS, right? So I took it on, started writing reggae. I switched the accent, whatever, it doesn't matter, okay, when I'm doing that. And that's the name of the band is Soul Rising, or We Are Soul Rising is the name of the band. And I have and
you guys can find all of this, his link to his page, his company, and the music, where you can go listen to the music, buy the music. Please, definitely check out the description. And you can also subscribe to his YouTube channel from the description as well.
So I like dance hall style stuff, but I also do. So it ranges from things such as, like, let's say, for example, I could get sing-songy or dancehall, which dancehall is more like the hip hop type of feel.
yeah.
So let's say one of my more dancehall type stuff is like, we need more Jah in our life. Tell them no more soldier in our life. Give them the peace and no more war in our life. So far in our life, I say put away coca in our life. Open the marijuana Jah in our life. The pain and the strife we erase and we wipe. The suffering disease we replace with the peace. For the lonely and the cold, we fire up the coal. For the rebels staying bold, let their stories be told. Come make we burn chalice and sip wine to celebrate the ital bliss. I annihilate the thorny vines and dwell within the highest grace. I annihilate with the will and the word. And, so that kind of combines things like the hook is more sing-song and so on and so forth. So, that kind of stuff, just having fun with it.
I want that. I like that. I know that that's copywritten because but I like that. But I know you probably get more. I'm going to be patient.
No problem. I'll
give me a 1 if everybody liked what you heard. I love it.
And I'm writing, as I mentioned earlier, I'm writing something for you. I'll send you a sample soon.
I love it. Man, Ike, you're so talented in this in so many different ways. Let me ask you something. When you were in Nigeria, did you see all this? Did you perceive all of this coming? I mean, all the things that you've done. I mean, not just the work, not just your company, but the music. Getting all these ones. People like your music. So you got to give us more of that. I'm happy. I'm about to have it in my little, what do you call that? Roadcaster right here.
As I mentioned, with the music thing, like when you were asking me how I got to it, a lot of with the benefit of hindsight, you can claim to have seen certain things, but not really. But one thing I know though is the core, which is the core that, and it's always strange talking about oneself in a certain way, right? But the core, which is always like never put limits on myself, that has always been there. In other words, I've never put limits on myself. Obviously, there are limits that come from the outside, but I always try to sidestep it. Goes with that whole rule breaking thing that I mentioned earlier, right? It's like, oh, you can't do this. Okay, well, you step over here and do that. You can't get this way. In other words, the whole limitlessness, and then the whole idea that, well, why just do one thing, when you can do it all? That's always been me. Okay, study physics, study philosophy, have a business, also write music, do this, start a YouTube channel. Why not? Do it all. Do it all.
I love it. And you know what? You're doing something for me right now, because this is something that I shy away from. I tend to just like try to stay within the lines. And even though I feel like there's other things I want to do, but I try to like play it safe. But now
it's like a muscle, and this because there's pain involved with it. In other words, like going into the gym and working up this, and I'm going to develop the quads and this and that. We know that there is time and, let's say, pain, but it's a beautiful kind of pain, because because the record is going to be there. Those songs are there, right? And the more songs that I have are there. The business is developing. The talent, the skills, the relationships, the networks, they are a testament. And when you look back, it gives you more impetus to go forward. The hardest part, though, is starting. We all know that, right? It's hard to start because you don't have the momentum. Once you start rolling, it's easy to keep rolling, right? The first start is the hardest part. But this is good news, right? Because it's never going to be any harder than it is right now. You know what I'm saying?
Thank you so much, Ike. Snuggles, I believe this person comes from your channel. I've seen them there before. You've got lots of folks that came through to show you some love. How are you doing today? How is everyone going on? Hope everything is fine. Interesting. Well, thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate you and welcome. And thank you for supporting Ike. You've got some fans on here. Don't be surprised. It looks like you're going to have a couple of folks go on your channel after this because they like the music.
Yeah, and I give them a little sample. You've been there a couple of times. So, I after the stream or at some point randomly, I give them a little sample of things that are not released yet. Just give them a little acapella. And I play my songs also in the intro and the outro and stuff. And I will be releasing those after I come back from Africa in April. I'm going to go officially release the 2 tracks that I use in my channel most often, and I'm going to start recording stuff. But I will be sending you a sample of the one that I'm writing for you, just a rough draft, that is, to kind of so you can see like what I'm trying to do there.
I love it, and I look forward to it. To be honest with you, I was very blown away. Like when I heard you at first, you don't, like you said, you wear different hats. Even though you only have one on right now, but you wear different hats, and I would have never, like, I'm sure there's a lot of folks that didn't that you flow very nice. You could really, this is really, and it's funny because you said you're doing all things, but what, how much now that you're about to put this music out, are you going to be pushing this more towards Africa? Are you going to push this, to be out there more? Because I think that would be interesting. I would definitely see you in the Afrobeats arena. Give us that nice sound.
My art, okay, I like to keep my art separated, and I knew this instinctively before because of the way I've moved, but now I know it more consciously, cognitively, concretely, that I like to keep my art separated from money, if you will, or I don't want to be a singing, dancing monkey for money, okay? I don't want to be So I say, okay, in my hierarchy, the top is what I call the priest/sage hierarchy. In other words, the scholarly pursuits is the number one thing for me.
That's the top.
That's the top. Next is art, right? Below that is money. If you look at me externally, you're like, what do you mean? I would have thought money was number one.
I know, especially with that suit on. I can see you like money. Let's not.
The money is needed. The money is needed in order so that I can keep the other 2 things pure and independent.
Okay.
Right? I can do my studying. I can share ideas on YouTube. I can do my singing and dancing and so on and so forth. And it can be independent from the money stuff.
So the money is really to maintain what you really want to do.
Exactly. But luckily, also, I like engineering, and engineering can make money. Okay. Luckily, I like to perform, and sales is a performance game, right? So, and those bring money. And so you just got to find a way of building the bridges. But one thing I need to keep clean is my art. I could put it out there and you can buy it. Sure, fine. But I don't want to be beholden to it. Like, oh, this is money. Oh, now you got to go on tour and you got to go.
This is something that's special. You don't want it utilized in that way. I can understand that. So that means that for real, art is very important to you.
Yeah, as I said, it's the philosophy, and then the art, and then the money.
I don't know if y'all heard that. Ingrid Jarrett, I want to thank you for the super chat, sis. Thank you. I appreciate it. Okay, so that being said, I'm gonna be here all night, right? So I want to keep you, but I wanted everybody to hear, because there's a couple of aspects to Ike that I realized going to his channel, and I've been on there quite a few times. Sometimes I comment, sometimes I don't. It depends on what I'm doing, and there are times that I go there, early in the morning, just so I can get some of that, understanding on. I'm working on meditating. I'm working because I really truly feel like it's one of the hardest things for me. So I'm pushing myself to do that and learn that, because there's always this stuff and I want to get rid of it and just focus in on what it is that I need to focus on. I'm not sure what that is right now, but I know it's there. It's just there's all this noise. So I've been really going to Ike's channel for that, but come to find out there were so many other things. So like, you guys get ready, because it's going to be a journey. You're going to learn so much, and there's so much to receive. One thing I can say is this. One aspect of your channel that I really appreciated was the music aspect. I really think it's a good balance, because you appear one way, but then you have this other thing that you offer that makes it so much more interesting. Another thing I did look up was the name of your company. And and that kind of fits you too, Ike. That kind of fits you too. Did you pick the name of your company? How do you pronounce this? Prometheus?
Prometheus, yes. It's the bringer of fire to man.
What made you pick that name? Was it because of how was that?
Yeah, I like the
Like you said,
Prometheus story.
I do my homework. I do a lot of digging when I see when I find.
Yeah, I can tell. I can tell. So he's a tragic hero, right? He got punished by Zeus for doing what he did, and I like tragic heroes, or I like tragedy in general. My general disposition to life, you might say, is a stoic one. It just recognizes, at least a stoic will say that a stoic is a realist, and we think we're realistic, and we recognize in other words, we're men that like the blues, right? To put it in another way, like we recognize and we see the sad parts of life as, there's almost a sweetness to it. Okay, so that story of Prometheus being punished for bringing the fire, right? It was attractive, but also the fire aspect, which is passion, and it grows. It does not stop. It is unstoppable. It will consume everything. Is something that I just kind of, or resonated with me, I should say, right? It is, and that is why when I started saying, or the beginning of my whole talk was that you need to figure out how many acres of land that you have, and then take that fire and consume it, develop it all, just go, never stop. Because if you have 1 acre and you cultivate it fully, then you're fully happy. If you have 100 acres and you only cultivate 50, you're not happy. Okay, you need to cultivate the full 100. In other words, having, let's call it talent, if you will, which is just, let's say, a gift. It's a gift, and then you have to work on it. If you don't work on your talent, let's put it this way: talent is a responsibility. It's like being gifted 100 acres of land when you were born, right? And you therefore have the responsibility to cultivate that 100 acres of land. Some people look at it as, in other words, it's a double-edged sword. If you don't cultivate that 100 acres of land, you're not going to be happy. Your fire is going to get funneled into those self-destructive behaviors, which I alluded to earlier. Okay.
Hence, that fire is going to get used. Be it you use
one way or the other.
Good, or it could go to the bad. That's deep.
One way or the other. So if you want, because some people look at Elon Musk, for example, like, I want to be Elon Musk. Like, he has to do, you know how hard he works? He has to. He has to do all that stuff. If he does not, just imagine if Elon Musk was not going to Mars. He will be a terror somewhere, doing some horrible stuff somewhere. Like, they just think about it. Think about these different people. If Michael Jordan didn't get in the NBA, oh my God. Like, he would have, oh my God, right? So that's the double-edged sword of talent, if you will. A lot of damage can be done by these types of people. So when you have that 100 acres, you got to just go in, and you got to go there, and you got to, yes, you go in this direction with the music, go in this direction with this, go in this direction with that, and so on and so forth. And it's kind of funny. Yeah, people do say that they don't see the, they're like, oh, you can do that too. And it's like, yeah, I don't know. I don't control that aspect. It's not like I'm putting on these masks and taking them off. I don't control that aspect. I just come across the way I come across, depending on what I'm doing.
I love it. You're doing it. It's funny because when I keep trying to find, I gotta be completely honest with you. I'm one of those kind of people that go digging for something wrong.
If you dig, I can tell you. You want me to tell you what's the things that are wrong?
Channel. What is up with this dude? Dropping big gifts, going back. Okay, now he do music. Now he talks about mastery. Now he's talking. I'm like, what is this? And so that's when I went a little deeper, and I was like, okay, Prometheus. I'm like, what? Greek mythology? I'm like, okay, so that being said, you are what you are. You are very much.
I've fallen many times, right? Like I said, on many different bicycles. So if you're talking about like failure, which is one thing that is also should be made clear here, because I've talked about the fact that you need to go into the fear, you need to go into the uncertainty. What does that imply? It implies that there are many, many, many falls, and there are many more to come. I've not started failing yet. Okay, I haven't started failing yet, because obviously I'm just getting started here in terms of doing stuff, right? But there have been many failures of all kinds, failures in relationships, failures with business, not coming through for a particular client or something like that. All kinds of failures, having to take one particular trigonometry class 2 times over here. But never stop. There is no stopping. Never ever stop. Life is a use it or lose it proposition. If you do not use it, if you do not stress your bones, yourself, your skills, your immune system, everything, you lose it, you atrophy, and you die.
I agree 100%. While I'm thinking of that, I'm thinking about my treadmill. I don't use it. I love it. But it's true. It's true. I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, okay, that was the fear. When you had said earlier, you have this thing that you're afraid of. And I'm like, you have this thing. I bought this treadmill, put it in the living room. First it was in the back family room. Now I'm putting it right there so I can see it. I
compete with yourself from the past. Don't look at other people or anything. If you get on it for 5 minutes, that's 5 minutes more than you did yesterday. And then 5 minutes and 30 seconds, that's just remove your mind from the goal, the big, and other people. Just put it on the what you did yesterday. And don't worry about
you know where to go. You got to go to his channel. I promise you, it's very good because on this channel I focus on uncomfortable conversations. And trust me, lately I've been finding myself having to go to your channel quite often just to get those lessons, and I would definitely recommend it, y'all. So
thank you, Gina.
Such a great conversation, and I don't want, I could keep you on here for 8 hours and have no problem, but that's up to you. But
we'll be back. We'll come back and we'll touch on that mastery of subjective consciousness.
I want that very much. I want that very much. But I would also really like everybody in my chat room to really take an opportunity to go there, go to Ike's channel, visit his space. I truly believe that everything that comes to me because I need it. And it's not just coming to me, it's coming to you guys too. So, this opportunity to learn about mastery and to learn about meditating and just to learn from someone that seems to, have conquered some of the fears that I could say I've had. Let's learn from each other. Let's grow together. This is a part of that networking Ike was talking about, that Noid Ike was, you got to learn from each other. And I'm definitely going to start pushing myself to do a lot of things that maybe I would not have done. This was a part of it. Starting this channel, having the type of conversations that I do, it's a part of it. But I'm sure there's more. Like I said, that treadmill is still sitting there unplugged. So I think I might have to push myself to that. What are you saying, Kazel? Can you pin up his link in the chats? Yes, definitely. Let me, it's in the description, but I'm going to go ahead and snatch it up right now and see if you guys could take an opportunity to, let me go in this description right now. One moment. And see if you, okay, so let me do this. Okay, so I'm putting a couple of things in the link, you guys. I hope this goes through. I've never put this much in there before, but okay, so there's a couple of links, y'all. The first one is the YouTube channel. So visit the YouTube channel, and then his music. I know that some of you are very interested in that. There's some links right there that I found on his Facebook, I think, for music. So definitely check that out. I believe, what is it? Soul Rising. We are Soul Rising. Definitely hit that. So anybody that wants to connect with Ike, you know where to go. Go on his channel. He's got a wonderful base too. The people in the chat are very welcoming. So it's really a positive environment, guys. So get in there, get all you can, learn. Hopefully you'll notice some differences in me from going there, from meditating. Hopefully you'll see that. What are you saying, Hazel's the SoundCloud doesn't work. What? Okay, can you put the SoundCloud in? Because I put it in and he said that one's not working.
Let me go in here and grab my links. Because the SoundCloud one is free. I'm sorry, what?
No, I was telling someone. Okay, so yeah, it's Africa. Okay, so let me see if Let me just make sure that I put in the YouTube link by itself, just in case that's an issue. Maybe I put too much in at a time. Okay, guys, so I just put the YouTube in by itself, just in case it was a connection thing.
SoundCloud, we are still rising. I'm gonna go over to the YouTube chat right now that we are having and place it over there.
Cool.
Okay, so let me see. Bam. Okay, so you guys click on that SoundCloud one. And
all right, let me go into
I'm also gonna put it on your let me put it in the private chat, yeah, because I may not have the ability because YouTube might, you know.
Yeah.
I just put the SoundCloud in the private chat.
All right, guys. So I'm re-putting it, and it's also in the description, guys. It might have not worked because the way it pasted, and I put too much at a time. But I just put it in individually. So the first one was for the YouTube channel. Please click on that. Go subscribe to Ike's channel so you can, have that option to grow. There's so much great conversation going over there in the SoundCloud. Like I told you, I love reggae and I love his style of reggae. So if you like it like I do, go check him out.
Thank you very much.
So give us a closing, Ike. Okay, so as far and I'm gonna go back to one question for you. As far as I'm happy to hear that you're building in Ghana, because that was something that I was looking for in your channel and I didn't see. I didn't get any cheat sheet that said, okay, he's doing something in Africa. But I haven't dug in your Facebook that much though. So maybe it's
that's
in
interesting. No, there is a side of me, if you will, that in other words, I put a lot out there, but there's certain things I just don't put out there, not because it's not on, well, perhaps it's on purpose too. It's kind of funny because I'm a very public person, but also a very private person when it comes to certain things. There are things I like to share, but there are some things where it's just like, again, as I mentioned, like I'm not a very social person. I think that's where it comes down to, where it's like, oh, the fact that I'm building this stuff in Ghana, like for me, it feels like there are people for whom like that's perfect for them to share. That's typically the kind of thing I don't share. But I do know that with this channel, more and more of these kinds of things, because the content is needed, because people I'm attracting different kinds of people, right? And some people need to see these other kinds of aspects. Okay, so I will share pictures of the land, and then also as things develop, I'll show maybe the architectural drawings.
Videos, yes.
Videos of stuff like that. Actually for my last trip, because I took pictures of just the different airports. And videos of the different airports, like, okay, well, this, that, and the other. If you're over 6 feet, it kind of sucks because so I'm 6'4", and taking trips, long trips. But anyways, that's like a separate thing. I'm gonna do something on that where pay the extra money for business class. If you're over 6'4", or if you're over 6 feet, pay the extra money for business class, because it's not worth it. The back pain you're gonna have to deal with for a week afterwards. It's not worth it. Okay, shell out the extra grand, whatever it is. It's gonna be worth it, because anyways, so things like that I'm gonna be sharing more and more of. And when it comes to my closing statement, I believe you were asking me to have one, which something I'm not particularly good at, but I would say, in addition to everything I've said, is understand that this, okay, regardless of what else you may think about it, this land is the land of opportunity. Well, why are there people coming over here? Forget whatever else you might be thinking, okay? And forget the fact that most people are trying to go back over there. We're talking about what you face in front of you in whichever land that you are in. The fact that you are still here right now and you see other immigrant groups coming in, taking advantage of opportunities. In other words, it's not like they have a special, these Nigerians come over here and they have a special Nigerian tree where they go pluck opportunities from. No, let's say the Cambodians, they come over to Southern California and they start donut shops, okay? And they got the whole donut shop game sewn up. The Koreans start laundromats. And in other words, they come in here and they see opportunities. Take page from the book of these immigrant groups, they are actually they're taking advantage of opportunities that are right here in front of them, that are also in front of you. Okay, and that lesson can be applied all over the world, which basically means take advantage of opportunities, get rid of the victim mentality, forget, especially for men, forget the victim mentality, forget about your rights, your stupid rights that you think you need or you have, whatever. Responsibility over rights. I don't care about your rights. Rights are feelings, and we don't give a damn about your feelings. Okay, I'm talking to men now, okay? And you know what I mean, because you're not gonna give me any pushback on this, okay? You know. You should not be giving me any pushback. Rights are feelings about how you feel like you want to be. Life is enough. Like the right to life, no one is killing you today. You're over here watching on YouTube, right? That should be more than enough. Nobody gives a damn about how you feel like you need to feel about yourself. Oh, well, I don't see anybody over there that looks like me. I need to see more people that look like. No. Shut up, okay? Nobody gives a damn about that. Men are supposed to deal with the situation that they find on the ground and build regardless. So rights over responsibility, economics over politics. Okay. In other words, you need to build that lever first. You need to build the economic leverage first. You need to build the node first before you start the network aspect, which is the political aspect. But if you do not have anything of value and you're not a valid node, you're not a useful node, you have no utility, you will not get any advantage out of whatever networks you're building. Okay, so look at the fact that there are opportunities in the ground. Number 2, forget about your stupid rights. You're a man. Take responsibility. Rights are feelings. Okay. Number 3, economics over politics. And with that, I'll close.
Economics over politics. We're gonna have to go deep into that one, Ike. I'm not broken into that yet, but I believe that you're. I'll take you. Economics over politics.
Ruffling the feathers.
Somebody is afraid that you have a fire burning behind you.
It's my little candles. It's my little Prometheus candles doing their thing.
Ike, I want to thank you, and I hope to have you back on here very soon, because now I can't stop thinking about this mastery. And I know that everybody on my channel is about to go subscribe if they haven't already to your channel to find out more. But I would like to have you on here again to really get into the mastery of self. That is something that I'm really truly interested in, and I think that it will do. I'm gonna say it. Our people a world of good. So I want to thank you.
Indeed. And thank you very much again. Thank you everyone for whom is going there, clicking the links both in the description and in the chat and coming over to the channel. It's an honor and it's a pleasure, and definitely we'll be back again to talk about whatever you would like to talk about, Gina.
I will definitely be sending that invite. You don't have to worry about it. I'll be sending it soon. Thank you so much, Ike. I appreciate it. And you, sir, are definitely a stellar man. Thank you. Okay, guys, so Ike is going to be going now. So I want to thank everybody for coming through. I want you guys to really take the
Young man, do you want to succeed, to expand beyond your horizons? If you want to be free, then you must learn to master yourself, your thoughts, feelings, your body and spirit. Master your subjective consciousness. Every action has an opposite and equal reaction. The world outside of yourself is ruled by those who are not ruled by their base instincts. Young man, go forth into the world after this. Meditate, contemplate, then plan and execute an action towards success. Take a risk, break the rules, and be disciplined within self.